Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. To the podcast. I'm just kidding. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 523. It is October 12th, 2017. I am your host this evening, Nick Henderson. To my right is Christopher Guthridge.
Hey, what's going on?
You may have heard his sultry tones on our recent popcorn cast for Blade Runner 2049.
So good.
Which is now available everywhere. Well, to everyone, not everywhere, but you can find it on our site at 4playernetwork.com. Anyways, moving right along, Nolan Hedstrom also joining us.
Yep, that's me. I'm
for
here.
At least the beginning of this podcast.
Yep.
He does have to skedaddle.
Yeah, I do.
In about 30 or 40 minutes, right?
30.
So we'll be ending the show, just the three of us.
Oh.
Just me, Krispy, and Christopher Davis.
Hello.
On the other end of the couch. So we have some things to talk about. But before we get too far, I know I'm going to move very quickly through our beginning stuff because I know we don't have a lot of time with Nolan. I just want to read a few bits of feedback from our most recent episode.
Yeah.
I want to stress two things first, though. One, like I said, our popcorn cast for Blade Runner 2049 is now available to everybody, so you can find that at 4playernetwork.com. Don't listen to it if you haven't watched the movie yet.
Not to me. I haven't seen the movie yet.
We spoil the shit out of it.
We spoil the shit out of it, but go watch the movie and then go listen to the podcast.
Yes, it was a nice, lovely little podcast.
You know, the thing that sucks about that is I can't even see it this weekend.
Damn.
Because Bernadette works.
Dude, you need to hurry.
But she works from 2 to 11, and literally the earliest a movie starts is 10, but it's like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And there's literally, we can't see it this weekend.
That sucks.
It's like
because it's great.
With credits.
It's a pretty great movie.
Yeah, I gotta stay and watch the whole credits.
No, I'm talking about like the trailers before the movie. So even if it starts at 10, it's actually not going to start showing the movie till like 10:15, 10:20.
I heard it's not doing too well at the box office, though.
It's not doing great.
It's covered in our popcorn
cast. But it
cast.
has a huge budget. Too,
also shouldn't surprise many people. But anyways, you can listen to it. We Krispy and I recorded a podcast with George, who had also just seen it when we recorded, so check that out. It was a fun conversation. You can find it at 4playernetwork.com. Also, if you are a supporter of us on Patreon at the $15 tier or higher, or if you have been at that tier in the last 6 months, your custom 4Player mug has been ordered and has shipped and has already started arriving. I've been seeing people tweeting about it today, letting us know in our Discord that they got the mugs, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you're interested in supporting us, you can find us at patreon.com/4player. I'll be sending out new mugs to any new $15 patrons at the end of every month. So, without further ado, let's get straight into this before we talk about video games. I want to read some feedback from our last episode. Sprankton says, funny you mentioned Estes Park, which is where I was last week, because I was just there last year at about this time, and I'm about to go back in a couple of weeks. I don't remember the elevation affecting me, though. Except maybe a slight headache, and I've lived in Florida my whole life. So basically, he's telling me I'm a wiener.
It affects everyone differently.
Yeah. But
Call me a wiener.
You do have some wienerish qualities.
Yeah, I threw up everywhere.
It's okay.
Estes Park as in Estes Flask?
No,
Estes
not
Park.
at all.
I didn't think so.
He is a Jerry. So.
An undead favorite.
He also says, love the show, keep it up. We will keep it up.
Thank you.
For the foreseeable future. Slardacity says, I'm really looking forward to your opinions on Blue Reflection, Chris Davis.
I haven't been able to play in the past week, unfortunately.
I've been on the fence about it. I need to pull the trigger.
I'll try to give you an opinion next week.
There, you heard it here first. He also would like an update on SteamWorld Dig 2, but I think you said you finished that.
Yeah, I talked about it on the podcast last week.
Yeah, so maybe
did I not?
I think you briefly mentioned
You
it.
accidentally finished it.
Maybe he took his headphones off for about 5 seconds.
That is what happened. I did accidentally finish the game.
And our last bit of feedback comes from Jarose. Speaking of playing the game wrong, quote unquote, I can't remember if Nolan had fun with Revengeance, but I do recall that he forgot to do one key element in the combat until much later on. Yes.
No, not until much later on. The entire fucking game.
Much later after the credits.
After I was watching Nick get frustrated during a boss fight, and I was like, "Hey, what is that? What is that thing you're doing?"
Yep.
What was it called?
Ripper mode.
Ripper mode.
Ripper mode. He
did
Nolan
not know
played
that
the
was a thing.
entire game
Because
without
his name
Ripper
is
mode.
Jack. You
Yeah.
get it?
Oh my god! Oh my god! I never got that.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, does this surprise you? I also didn't realize that Alucard was Dracula spelled backwards until someone said it on this podcast.
Chrysanthemum.
That's one of my favorite highlights.
This should not surprise anybody. Anyways, thank you guys so much for your feedback. If you leave us feedback on the episode by leaving a comment on 4playernetwork.com, not only will we respond to it on the next episode, it also enters you in the drawing for that month, where we give away a free game to someone every single month, up to a $60 value, which I'm going to take this opportunity now to announce the winner of our giveaway for September. I know I'm a little late, but that person is the TikTok Man.
Damn.
The TikTok Man left a comment on several of our podcasts in September. His name was drawn today, and I already...
Sounds like a rejected DC supervillain name.
The TikTok Man?
Yeah. The Clock King, the TikTok Man.
No, there's all...
I mean, he might be an actual character.
Oh.
We don't know. We don't know how deep that pool goes. There's all kinds of weird things floating around in the murky depths.
You know what? Fun fact: the TikTok Man is from Austin.
Oh,
Whoa.
We don't meet many people here in
Whoa,
Austin,
that's
so that was kind of
creepy.
cool. It just worked out that way. But yeah, the TikTok Man is our winner for September. He already picked his game. I've already sent him his game.
Nice.
And it was...
What'd he pick?
This is going to be a great transition. You're going to love this. Middle Earth, Shadow of War. I'm just kidding. We're not going to use this as a transition because we need to talk to Nolan first before he goes.
God, that would have been a great
I know, it would have
transition.
been fantastic, but Nolan's fucking the whole thing up.
Yep,
We
my
will
bad.
talk about Middle Earth Shadow of War in a few minutes. Before that, I want to catch up with Nolan. You've been playing a game. We don't have footage for this game?
correct. It's hard to get footage. It would, unless I could like collaborate with like some chatters. I don't know.
You've been playing
Bladenet.
Bladenet.
Actually, a game that Soul Glove mentioned to me. He sent me a message in Discord. I was like, "Hey, Nolan, you heard about this game?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." But the reason he wanted to tell me about it is because it's a combination, like Assassin's Creed multiplayer meets like Prop Hunt meets Spy Party kind of.
Sold.
Little of the ship in there, too.
Yeah, the ship. Yeah.
The ship? What's the ship?
That's a game from
ship is-
late 2000s.
It's like a precursor to Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's where they got the idea from, kind of.
Yeah.
But anyways, the little concept in the game is you are given a target that you have to kill. Okay, someone's vibrating.
Not me. I don't think.
Anyway, so you're there's only, I don't know how many, like, it's an early game, I'll say. It's officially out, but there's
Is this early
definitely
access, though?
I don't know. I don't remember. I ended up emailing the developer and I was like, "Hey, your game looks cool." And they're like, "Ah, yeah, it is. Here's some codes you can play with your community." And I was like, "Oh, sweet." So yeah. Anyway, okay. So you versus other people, but you have to act like you're not a person. So like I said, similar to Assassin's Creed.
What do you act like then?
AI. You're like in the level
okay.
we played. You were in like a big mall. It's a 3-story mall.
You gotta try and mimic computer AI.
Kind of. But the weird thing is immediately when I started playing, I was like, oh, that's clearly Soul Glove. That guy's fucking running around with his phone out. And so I shoot him. Nope, wasn't him. Because they've actually done a really good job of making the AI act like a person, kind of. So it's like, because
there's lots of fake outs.
yeah. So in the game, you can have a cell phone you pull out, and it will kind of point you a general direction. Like the person's in this direction, and they are X amount of meters above or below you. I won't tell you how far they are, just if they're above or below, because like I said, it's a 3-tier. Actually, I think there is even a 4th floor.
So is everybody running around with their phones out, or are you
No,
supposed
so
to, like,
not
run,
always. So
stop, and
sometimes
then pull
people
it
would
out?
like just stand there. Sometimes they'll pull their phone out, walk around. Sometimes they'll lean against a rail. There's lots of different like movements and stuff that they do. Sometimes, like I said, they'll just randomly start running. I don't know, maybe a person's late for something. And so the whole point is, you're supposed to find your target, kill them, and then you collect data.
Do you shoot them? Or
So
do
you
stab
can
them?
you have two different things you do. You have It's like a bat, like a baton or something, like a riot stick that you can hit them with, or you can find guns in the world. So you have to find guns and ammo. You can find different types of guns. There's silencers or stuff like that. There's like submachine guns. There's pistols. There's Desert Eagles, kind of hidden throughout the world. And so there's also security. So there's these AI, like robot security guys that kind of wander around the world. And if you start randomly shooting up people, they'll come after you and like kill you.
Yeah. As one does.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, it's all about like blending in and acting nonchalant and whatever. But the thing was, at first, it was really easy because it was just me and Soul Glove. Yeah. And I was just running around killing him. And it was fun. But then when Cobra joined, I didn't realize, because the game doesn't really tell you, that you don't know where everyone is. You only know where your target is. So it doesn't tell. It doesn't point you where other people are. So you can't just run around like a dickhead if you see they're like way over there. You're like, oh, they're so far. I'm just gonna run around.
So
like,
it doesn't do like the whispers in Assassin's Creed.
No, it doesn't do anything like that. It's like I said. It's well, they have some stuff done. They don't have others done.
But you're obviously always gonna be someone else's target.
Correct.
Yeah. How do you defend yourself in those scenarios?
You can kill the person who's after you if you can figure it out. Like if you catch them, if they if you see someone pull out a gun, it's not like a random AI. Random AI don't just pull out guns.
Oh, that's weird. That AI is pulling out a gun.
Yeah. And even actually, if you do have a gun out, the security guards will be like, "Hey, you're not supposed to have that." Like they'll kind of start. They won't like. I haven't gotten killed for just having a gun out. They usually start approaching me.
It's an open carry state.
Are there other like NPC? Well, like so say you have in this scenario we've talked about having like 3 people on the map, but like how many other like NPCs are there?
At least 100, 200.
Okay, so
there's a lot.
So it's like you're in an actual crowded space.
Like I said, you're like in a mall, like in a shopping mall.
It's like multi-level and everything.
Yes, there's escalators, like there's a parking garage, there's like outside streets, like it goes beyond the mall, like two or three blocks past.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is there are locked doors that are locked behind keypads, and you can use your cell phone to hack the keypad. But obviously, if you see someone like hacking a keypad, that's not AI.
Yeah,
and like I caught Soul Glove hacking one once. That was fucking perfect. Yes, that's a great example. So Cobra started attacking me. I was his target, but there happened to be an AI security guard nearby, and so I hid between the security guard and Cobra accidentally shot the guard, and so the guard was like, "Oh!" He started shooting and killed Cobra.
So
and
you
I was
used
just like,
the guard as a shield, basically.
It was fucking
awesome.
great.
That's cold.
So what happens if you kill another player whether you're not your target?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Like so the thing is, whenever you
Nobody reacts.
Well, yeah. So when you kill a target, they have like it drops like a floppy disk looking thing, and you have to collect data, and you have to collect X amount of data to win the game. But when you die, you lose some of that data. So it's kind of this kind of back and forth thing.
You know what? I've always like this ever since playing Assassin's Creed multiplayer. I've always thought like this style of multiplayer is really cool, but like I've always thought about situations like maybe being able to use the crowd, like aside from just like blending into the crowd, being able to like cause panic to like help you blend in.
So
or,
yeah,
like,
you can if you shoot your gun, people around you will start running around and stuff. Yeah, you can. There's also items you can. I can't remember. There's one that's like a smoke bomb. There's one that I can't remember what it does. Something else I don't remember. But yeah, so going back to what I was saying earlier, there's all these doors throughout the world that have keypads, and you can hack into them. And the cool thing was, it's not something I realized at first. If you just stand there with your phone out, eventually your phone will go through a bunch of codes, and it will tell you the code to the door.
Yeah.
But it will also tell you mathematical like equations to help you solve the riddle, the door faster.
Yeah,
so
that was cool.
Yeah, so it'll say like x equals 1, and it'll be like, and then it'll kind of go through and be like x times 2 plus this, and so you can actually, if you're quick enough, you can solve the code before your phone does.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so like at first I didn't really understand what they were going for.
I was picturing someone like who hates math.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's really simple. It's not algebra. It's like
to, like calculate sine.
No, it's not that. It's not that difficult. But yeah, so inside those doors are usually weapons, health items, so you can heal up, because you don't auto heal. Like whenever you take damage, you just have that damage done to you until you are able to heal up. And sometimes there are also computers, and if you like access a computer, it will tell you where a weapon is located in the world, or where maybe some extra data is that you can just randomly pick up off the ground. And
I want this style of game with like what's the game I'm trying to think of, the hacking game, quadrilateral cowboy style shit.
That'd be interesting.
Like in the middle of a match.
That would be Oh man, that would be ridiculous.
But there was one funny part where like there's this room you can hack into that's like a hallway that goes to another room you have to hack out of, and so I hacked into one side and I noticed that Soul Glove was on the other side. Like I could see him outside through the window, but I guess he didn't see me because he was looking at the phone. And so I quickly hacked it and opened the door and just like shot him. And he was like, "How did you even get in there?" Like he didn't. I guess he hadn't figured out the hacking yet.
If you're like, so you're saying that like the damage is consistent until you can heal.
Yeah.
If you take a lot of damage, does it make you more obvious of like that guy's bleeding?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Also, general question here, since we actually don't have footage.
Yeah.
What is like the art? What is the visual style of this game? Is there anything you can compare it to?
I would say the original Deus Ex.
It's pretty future, right?
Like-
It's a lot of like black and white.
But are you
colors.
saying it looks kind of like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely they tried to do like a realistic kind of like vibe to the world. It's Unreal Engine 4. And so I mean, it's just their graphics department is not. It's not an art game. It's. I mean, you can look up. We should have just at least gotten the trailer or something so they can see something. But yeah. So I mean, it's first or third person. You can kind of zoom in or out. Like I said, when you use your phone, you physically look like you're holding your phone in the world. But yeah, like I said, the first thing that kind of threw me off was when. I saw someone running around with their phone out. I was like, that has to be.
This looks like it also has like that like clean aesthetic of like Mirror's Edge to it.
No,
a little bit. Maybe
Mirror's
that's
Edge
just the
is a good
mall.
example. But yeah, so the other thing, so when you have your phone out, it will point you to when you're to your target. But then when they're in the certain range from you, it just says target nearby.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get within X distance, like you kind of have to figure it out by context clues.
I mean, I know this is an indie title, but it didn't feel like watching you play that the environment's really filled with like decorations and things like that. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
How many map? Like, are there like?
we only played on one. I don't know if there's any others.
Well-
And like it's unpolished in the sense that like when I collected the top amount of data, like it's not like congratulations you won. It's just like every single AI, everything in the world just keeps walking in the direction they were walking until they like hit walls and stuff, and then like maybe like 40 seconds later it just pulls you back out to the menu. So I mean,
It's like suddenly like all of their brains turn off.
Yeah.
And they're just like.
So are they done development on that?
I highly doubt it.
I bet they're working
I
on
would
maps.
hope not.
Yeah, I agree. I hope not.
But it wasn't released in an early access.
I don't know.
state.
I'd have to look up the Steam page
Wait,
to
Cobra
see.
says there's wall running in the game. Is that?
There's
a little bit of parkour.
So yeah, you can vault. You can jump and vault over things. You can jump off the second story balcony of the mall down to the first one, and you can do like a roll.
That might be a bit of a giveaway.
You could do a roll animation. Yeah, no.
Look, the NPC is jumping off the second.
God damn it! This sounds like a really, really, really cool idea.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and I want to play it with more people. Like I said, the most we had was three people total.
You bring that up, and that seems to be one of the things that's kind of, unfortunately, it's kind of like Lawbreakers in that every time someone talks about it, you can't help but not talk about the fact that maybe its player base is a little small.
Yeah, no, it definitely
Although
is.
I think maybe Lawbreakers might be a little bit more of a severe case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. This game sounds like it only has 3 people for its player base. Like,
Yeah.
at least fucking
hopefully it gets-
Lawbreakers has like maybe 60 concurrent at a time.
I don't know. It doesn't. How do you see on the Steam page whether it?
mean, if it was-
It would
early
say
access, it'd
it would
say.
have an early access box.
David Dingle says it's not.
Somebody
Okay,
in
so it's
somebody
not
in
early
chat
access.
said that it's officially finished. It's not
Oh,
early
wow.
access. So
Okay.
but I mean that doesn't
I mean-
mean they're not going to be developing maps and
Yeah,
and
it's a
polish and
it's a
stuff.
$15 game. It's on sale for $12.75 right
At least
now.
the price is right.
And they just did an update 2 days ago, so I mean, obviously they're not like ignoring the fact that it has issues.
Is this their first game?
Today's
or?
peak was
I believe
7
so.
players.
Oh my god.
All-time peak was 12.
Oh my god.
Man, I
You
should have
guys
been
represent a quarter of like the all-time.
I should have been on when there was 12 people. That probably would be fun.
Shit.
Can you play 12 people in one map, like one game?
I have no idea. It was developed by Fly Leap Studios. This is their third game.
I'm wondering if it's just like a marketing
game.
issue. Or,
The other game is free to play. It's FPV Air Tracks.
like I'm kind of wondering if it's if it's a marketing issue and maybe they were like intentionally trying to, like they didn't spend anything on marketing. They were just hoping that it would sell by word of mouth.
Yeah, and I think like I said, their other game, it's mostly negative, unfortunately. It's customizable, realistic racing quadcopter simulator.
That's the name of the game.
No, it's FPV Air Tracks.
Oh.
So I mean, they might be
a
drone racing game.
Yeah, it might be a fairly early studio, and that, like I said, they haven't developed a whole lot yet. But this one's fair. This one has pretty positive reviews so far. Out of the 37 reviews, I don't know how they have 37 reviews if only 12 people. I guess that was the max.
None of them are.
Those
that was
people
the
only
max.
log on 3 at a time.
81% positive though, and I agree with those reviews. For what it is, it's definitely good. It's not like it would. I would say if you're gonna get it, maybe get it now while it's on sale, or wait for it to go on sale again.
Maybe we can get some footage of it for the video.
No, yeah, I can definitely try and capture some footage. So when this goes up on YouTube, we have footage of the game.
I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not like a Spy Party situation where there's only like 6 regular users. Because the problem with Spy Party, the problem I had with Spy Party when I bought it.
Has that came out?
No, you can buy it.
You can buy it
You
though.
can buy it and get like the current build or whatever.
You've been able to buy it.
I know what your
I've-
problem is.
I've played and it's like, you know, there's only 4 people on at a time, so you're just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'll play with you guys, and then like, then you log on the next day. It's like when you're done playing, like the other guy might not be done, but it's
Yeah.
like, well, he's not gonna have anyone to play with if I log off. But like, I gotta go to bed, you know. So I'm like, all right, dude, I'll see you later. Nice meeting you, and I log off. And then like the next time I log on, he's fucking on. Like if I open up the fucking browser, he's like sending me game requests. I'm like, man, I don't really want to play with.
So
you.
my biggest problem with
but
Spy
you're the only
Party
person in the world playing.
is that the people who like it really like it, so they're the ones that play it, which means
Yep.
when you play it with them, you get just destroyed.
Shit.
What's the developer of the Spy Party's name
Chris
again?
Hecker.
Chris Hecker. I mean, we haven't talked about him in a while.
Yeah.
Is he still going to like PAX West in that same booth in the same corner every year?
Probably, yeah.
Man.
He was there last time we were there.
Dude, have you
Yeah,
seen the game
I
though?
didn't-
I mean, he's definitely working.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh,
it
no,
looks
it's-
so much better than when we originally saw it.
It's
Like,
definitely come a long
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy that like
the
all
problem
of our
is we saw it
experiences-
when he like first started fucking working.
Yeah,
on it.
we've been
Like,
talking to him and playing that game since it was like the earliest of like visual representation, like
Yeah.
when it was just like blocks moving on a screen.
Yeah.
And they didn't look. They barely even looked like people.
Yeah.
But yeah, game's come a hell of a long way.
Speaking of games that have gone a hell of a long way, have you seen Due Process lately?
Oh no, I haven't.
Which one is Due
Dude,
Process?
that game is
Oh.
looking pretty good.
Is that the one with like the heists?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that-
it's like Rainbow Six Siege before it was Siege.
Yeah,
what is? I mean, I remember when we played that. It was,
it was
just
very
like,
early. It was a very early alpha.
It was just colored blocks.
yeah,
moving
pretty
around
much.
basically.
Yeah,
Right?
I have not seen it recently. Is it looking?
Yeah, they've got a YouTube channel and they've been putting out like clips of matches like about once a week.
Uh-huh.
And it just, dude.
Is it like a
it's
new
looking
art
pretty
style,
good.
or is it still?
Yeah, no, it kind of makes me think of Virtual Cop.
Interesting.
What they're going
Yeah,
for.
you guys played that on.
Yeah,
the stream.
me,
with
Chris,
Bob.
Bob,
Back four years ago,
and the
2012.
dev.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played it, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or in
Man.
the devs, yeah.
Game development these days is a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
All these games that we've played for years, but they're technically not even
Well,
out
yeah,
yet.
and that's the thing is that's with today's society, with the internet, with the ability to get information out there. Back in the day, it's not that games weren't developed
Why
this way.
pay
It's just
Q-
we didn't know about it while they were in development.
Why pay
Yeah.
QA like testers when you can
Yeah.
just kind of release an early version of the game and get live feedback from people who are genuinely interested in your game?
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. How we doing on time, Nolan? How
I
you
got
doing?
about 8 minutes.
8 minutes. All right. Well, then I'll have to go ahead and transition over to the big new game,
I do want to hear about this
Middle Earth: Shadow of War.
because
is out.
I love the first one.
Yeah, me too. And I feel really bad because October is just so jam packed, and
Fucktober is what it
yeah,
is.
Fucktober. I had to pick one game to kind of hold off on, and for me, it was Middle Earth. I would like to maybe get around to it in December or something.
You know what I
but-
almost did today? I almost bought Ghost Recon Wildlands.
What?
It was on sale for $15.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
$15 on
that-
PC, and I was
that
like,
20
"Holy
that's
shit!"
2017,
Yes,
right?
it came out in March.
Well, they recently released a PvP mode.
Yeah, correct. They're trying to compete with PUBG.
Yeah.
Kind of. No, I mean not PUBG, but I mean they're trying to do PV. They're jumping on that as soon as they can. Like, hey, players, people playing together. So I mean that's the thing they're going for, and apparently it's good. Apparently the PvP mode is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what
I mean,
I've heard.
I've got a code. I've just never played the game.
But yeah,
But Middle Earth: Shadow of
Shadow of
War,
War.
sequel to Shadow of Mordor, is out.
I'd say it's-
Krispy and the Chris's have both played a
Yeah.
fair amount. So
I think Chris Davis has played more than I have, so I'll let him.
this
start things
feels
off.
like
are you sure this
Shadow-
isn't Assassin's Creed Origins?
Shadow of Mordor 1.5 or 1.75 maybe. It doesn't feel like an actual full extension or sequel
expansion of.
the first game. The combat does feel better in my opinion. It does, at least in the terms of combat. It feels like what Arkham City was to Arkham Asylum.
See, you keep. Oh, you're
Because
strictly talking about combat.
yeah, strictly talking about combat, it does feel a lot better.
Because to me, like, there's so many things about Middle Earth that I think are more important to me than maybe the actual moment-to-moment combat.
But that's also an incredibly important part of the game, though.
Well, I will tell you something that I think you will like to hear.
Okay.
The environments seem more interesting this time around.
There we go.
That's
because
definitely a
the
good
game
thing.
starts in like a city basically. That it's
Which
kind of
is
small.
this one?
Like
It's
with
called-
NPCs?
Yeah, it's called
Minas Ithil?
Minas Ithil.
Ithil?
Minas Ithil.
Uh-huh.
And it is Gondor's last kind of like holdfast within Mordor.
Have they called for aid yet?
No, they have
No,
not.
they did not.
They are too proud. And
Do
I
they
think,
need
I think
to?
I think the schism between Gondor and Rohan is pretty wide at this point.
It is. Yeah.
But
And don't get me wrong,
It-
I
it-
actually like the world.
you sure
and the
this isn't
environment.
Assassin's
city,
Creed?
it is a city that is under siege by the orcs. So there are a lot of NPCs in the city, but they're all either orcs or Gondorian soldiers.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, which, you know, made me think of Batman in that it's kind of interesting that here there are good guy NPCs. So you'll be walking around and you'll see people. There's a lot more instances where it's like in Batman you get a couple times where you see cops being held up and you'd have to like rescue
Yeah.
them, but it would be like a very focused like kind of.
That's like the
Yeah,
one thing
kind
in the
of
Arkham
thing.
series that I feel like after 4 games, I can't believe
Right.
they never like
They never tried to integrate kind of like innocent or good NPCs into the world.
They somehow managed to come up with 4 games where there was an excuse for having the entire city completely emptied out.
Yeah.
It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
In this one, you do kind of get a sense that there's more of an ongoing battle for Minas Ithil going on. And the cool thing is, like the way that Nemesis will sometimes throw like little curveballs at you, or like, you know, an orc captain might show up at an inopportune time to kind of ambush you or something.
Yeah.
They now have that with Gondorians.
What?
Like you can be fighting somebody and all of a sudden like a Gondorian will run in and like stab the guy for you, and it's like, oh, fucking cool. I
That's
got backup.
nice.
now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
I
like
mean, it makes sense if like there's a random guy in the city and all of a sudden he sees like another human fighting an orc and be like, oh, I'm gonna help that bro out.
so it's
Because-
kind of like
because
you're
it's
building
interesting.
relationships, not only like I say building relationships, not like you.
You do have so there is like they've expanded Nemesis a little bit in that it doesn't just encompass the enemy army, it also encompasses a power structure that you're building.
Yeah.
So like when you're in Minas Ithil, which is only one of the locations you go to in the game, you'll pull up your Nemesis map and it'll have a diorama of the city, and down below the walls are all the orcs, all the enemies, all the Urukai, and then up on the walls you can see all the Gondorian captains. So you
Yeah.
can see like all of their stats. They're all in the simulation as well, and they can die and be replaced and things.
I have a
like
quick
that.
question.
Yeah.
I've been seeing lots of tweets of teeth. Is that real or is that like Photoshop?
No, that's the FaceTime app being used.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
someone took a
okay,
picture of an
okay.
Urukai and-
That's
yeah.
fine then.
Yeah.
But
Wait, it's what are they
It's
using?
you know the app that like you can take a picture of somebody and it'll like add a smile or something,
Like Snapchat?
or make them look older.
Yeah, like
Oh.
Snapchat filters kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
it's like that.
I saw a bunch
but
of tweets of that with like
Face app.
Nemesis like
Oh, that's
orcs and
awesome.
stuff, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Like,
I
it's
saw
like
one that looked
Urukai with like really photogenic smiles.
Yeah,
Like,
they have straight, clean white teeth, and it's like an Urukai, so they're all like fucked up, but then like a really clean smile.
Yeah.
Looks like a fucking Orbitz commercial or
I
something.
think-
like
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful use of that app.
that. Yeah.
Mechanically, like moment to moment combat wise,
Yeah.
I do kind of agree that this is
But
a half step.
Yeah.
It's not.
But it's also like I don't feel like the combat in like the Arkham series was ever like even like
yeah,
a full
it didn't-
step,
it
because
didn't
that started
really-
really strong.
Well, I
It
mean,
never really like radically changed throughout those games. They kind of added more things, and they Arkham. By the time you got to Arkham Knight, there was a lot more. There was a lot more options in the way of like integrating gadgets into combat and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But the main crux of it was what it always was,
Yeah.
and that's kind of true here too. They've added new abilities. There are new things you can do. There's some of it's kind of cool. Like you have this Elven Rage ability, which is basically just like, I want to end this combat right now. and you just hit square a bunch of times, and it does that for you.
Yeah.
But you have to build that meter up.
When you say
I
it does
get-
that for you, do you mean he just like slaughters
Okay,
everybody?
it's kind of cool because when he goes mechanically, it's really simplistic, and I'm kind of like meh on it, but it looks awesome because
Yeah.
what happens is you build up this rage meter, and then you click both sticks, and you go into quote unquote elven rage mode. So then, like, Celebrimbor basically takes over, and he just starts cloning himself, and like different copies of him keep stepping out of you, and every time a new copy of him steps out, it takes a shot at an orc and kills it. So
Yeah.
it's like this elven wraith just like kind of multiplying, and like the copies are disappearing and
destroys
merging,
everything.
and like each one of them's like shooting arrows, and it like it happens, the whole thing happens in slow motion, and like you won't even be able to track everything that's going on by the time you're done hitting square.
I don't care
Everybody's
how
dead. Like-
fucking OP that is or how
It's really cool.
game breaking it is. That sounds like the coolest fucking
It's
thing.
not as game breaking as you'd think
No,
because
it's-
there's fucking urukai everywhere.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was gonna say.
But if you pulled
Like
you pulled that trick in the middle of like 20 orcs, it would do it 20 times.
well, it would go for as long as the meter burns.
Oh,
As
okay.
long as fast as you can tap, and as long as the meter burns.
Don't mean to cut
it
in,
would
but
keep
I
going.
gotta cut out.
Okay.
right.
No.
Thank you, Noah.
Enjoy
I'm
the
sorry.
show.
Okay, bye,
Enjoy
guys.
your night out with your lady.
Thank
And
you.
enjoy your show.
Bye-bye.
We'll finish up here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, what I was going to say about the combat was that when I
Leave
make
me a
that
key.
Arkham analogy,
Yeah.
is that in Arkham Asylum you were doing encounters with maybe 6-8 dudes
Right.
maximum. In Arkham City you were doing upwards of 40 sometimes.
Right, because they were all.
And that same sense of scale
Everywhere.
has carried over to Shadow of War, because you can face off like 30-40 enemies at once if you're not too careful.
The other thing about this game, too, that's a little different from the way they took Batman, though, is their approach on open world, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't... It's been a little while since I played Shadows of War, so I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, there were basically 2 maps that were big open world maps
Yes.
that you could run around
Yes.
kind of concurrently.
Visually distinct from one another, but
Yeah, but they
At
were
the
both
One
One
still
was
kind of...
pretty much
one
the
was
same.
sunnier than the
One
other.
was less volcanic, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they weren't like
And you
super
know what?
interesting.
The most memorable moment for me playing Shadows of Mordor was when I first went from one area to the next, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's sun, there's like
Yeah.
greenery, like it doesn't look terrible here."
yeah.
Yeah, in this it's more like many of these like smaller open world areas connected together that you're kind of moving through.
Are they connected by load screens, or are
through
they
a menu.
seamless?
They're by load screens,
It's
yeah.
it's a menu,
It's not
yeah.
seamless.
Yeah, so when you're in Minas Ithil, you're in Minas Ithil, and then if you want to go somewhere else, you have to open the map, click on a load point for that area, and then you
But like
go
everything
fast
I've
travel.
seen prior to the release of this game seemed like it was all taking place within, how do you say this?
Minas Ithil.
Minas Ithil.
This is kind of, so far at least, this is the crux of the story, is this city, because the main I don't know how far this goes, but what I'm doing right now is Talion and Celebrimbor are looking for a Palantir, which is one of the seeing stones, if you remember from the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like Saruman had that seeing stone, and Gandalf
Yes.
was like, "No, we can't use the Palantir. They're not all accounted for." You know.
Yes.
You're looking for one of those.
Okay.
And Gondor has one, and it's being housed here in this fortress. But the problem is, nobody except the fortress commander knows where it is, and he does not want to tell you where it is.
Not to mention the fact that no humans can actually use it and not be corrupted.
So
by
what
it.
are you trying to like win his trust?
Well,
to, like,
yeah,
get him to tell you.
You're kind of
Kinda.
basically
By helping in the battle?
The conflict going on right now is like Celebrimbor is all about, we need to get the Palantir. We need to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And Talion is more like, well, we need to help the Gondorians protect the city. If we protect the city, then we can find the Palantir. And Celebrimbor is very much like,
and at the
fuck you.
And
Like,
at the start of the game, I mean, there's already a rift developing between Talion and Celebrimbor, because at the beginning of the game, as they hint at the end of Shadow of Mordor, they craft a new ring.
Spoilers.
And-
perfect in every way.
I mean, yeah, it's,
But yes.
it's not poisoned by Sauron's influence, so it's not subject to him.
Right.
But at the beginning of the game, after they've completed forging it, Celebrimbor is captured by Shelob, who was the giant spider from Lord of the Rings.
Now she's a sexy lady.
Who's now a sexy lady.
Whoa, what?
She's pretty sexy.
And she trades Celebrimbor's soul for
the ring.
For the ring.
So she has the ring
Talion,
now.
yeah, Talion gives Shelob the ring, and Celebrimbor is like, "You're a fucking idiot." And the whole thing, basically everything now is them trying to get. Well, Celebrimbor is very much all about getting the ring back. Talion, where I'm at, isn't convinced. I don't remember where the Palantir really plays into this, but Talion is very much into doing what Shelob wants them to. He wants to. He keeps going back to her to consult her for visions. He's seen visions of the future from her, and he's like very concerned about them coming to pass. So he wants her help to stop that. And Celebrimbor the whole time obviously is saying like, "This is stupid. Don't trust her. She's gonna betray us. She's probably really fucking evil." You know.
So it seems like it's still playing fast and loose with Lord of the Rings.
I don't know. I mean, they say
that's
the
all,
game was approved by
that's
Tolkien
all, everything
scholars.
that you just talked.
I don't know
Everything
what the
that,
fuck that means, but
everything you just talked about though is set up, right? That's kind of
yeah, basically.
Yeah,
The game starts with a previously on Shadows of Mordor. And
that's good because I
and
can't.
gives you the whole rundown.
I just remember
not even the whole rundown. It's kind of like
it's like the last.
it's
hour.
like 30 seconds of like the plot.
in the grand scheme of things, not a whole lot happened in Shadows of Mordor. I mean, like a lot of like more personal stories kind of took place between you and the orcs and the captains and whatnot. But like, and you had this one overarching like goal, right? But it was kind of just the setup, and then you kind of fought your way through all this shit. All this stuff happened in the middle, and then you got to this major event at the end, which was, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, fairly disappointing.
Yeah, it kind of just ends.
Yeah, I think that was probably my biggest bummer. Like that's the kind of stuff I hope this game doesn't fizzle out like the first one did. I think that was probably its biggest issue first time around. But I don't know. This is sounds like y'all are enjoying it.
I'm into it so far,
Yeah.
but like I don't know, like it's very much comfort food kind of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is really revolutionizing anything in particular. I always really, really, really like the idea of the Nemesis system. So
Does it seem vastly improved here, or kind of more of the same?
I don't.
so far, it's been pretty much the same
I'll tell you
for me.
what.
But again, like, I can only speak for about 3 hours of game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also Shadow of Mordor, like, fucking kind of blew my mind. I was loving that game for a really long time, and it still made my top 10 that year. I think that game was really great. But there was a point where the Nemesis, I saw behind the curtain on the Nemesis system, and it was, I think this happened to probably everybody at some point, where like I had a Nemesis and I kept interacting with him, and I was like, whoa, this is really fucking cool. Like, he'll come back and he'll have like a scar on his face where I attacked him or
that's still
whatever. But then there was one time where I fought him and I cut his fucking head off, and I was like, yes, that was the conclusion of my story with this character. And then 30 minutes later, he shows back up, and I was like, broken. Whole thing, the illusion has been destroyed.
I see. The thing is, I think they've accounted for those kind of like game-changing how you take care of those nemesis.
Yeah.
Like, because I've been reading up, like, for example, there can be an orc that you cut their head off.
Yeah.
And they'll come back, but it will be stitched on, and the name of the character will change, and then he'll have a monologue about why his name changed and why he's coming back for revenge against you.
That only kind of like, I feel like that's like there is something inherently wrong with the way the Nemesis system is like coded, or like the logic that's in place, that for whatever reason their solution to this was just have them come back with stitches on their neck. Like, I feel like there's really no explanation for why an orc should be able to come back after
magical high fantasy realm. I mean,
but like you see orcs get their heads cut off all the time in Lord of the Rings, and they never come back. It's just you know, it's just one of those things. Like, if they're gonna,
both have a point.
I just don't need, like, with the Nemesis system, I still think it's a really cool thing, and like it works most of the time, and at those points it's cool. But it's like, I kind of want it to be like, I have a Nemesis, I kill Nemesis, I move on. I find another Nemesis.
I understand your point, and I had encounters with I got stalked by the same orc that I killed 5 times in a row. He just kept coming back for me, and he finally just stopped. Like,
and that's fine if,
right
like,
before I recorded
you
this
stabbing him or leaving him for dead or whatever. But like, you fucking cut a dude's head off, that dude should be dead.
Sure, but at the same time, when you really think about it, cutting one of these guys' heads off is really more a matter of animation than it is any system, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. If they're going to have that in the game, it should be...
From a programming perspective, what you're
For
saying
sure.
is...
From a programming
like,
perspective,
cutting their
it's,
head
it's
off
no
isn't any
different than shooting them or stabbing them or poisoning them or setting them on fire or anything else. And they come back from all that other shit, you know?
But another thing
I have not encountered this yet, but what were you going to say?
I was going to talk about how when they come back, there can be gameplay changes from that, though.
There can be. And in fact, there's more gameplay changes to the initial combat itself, too.
Yeah.
I've had a few of these orc captains be ones that, like, I wasn't looking for. They weren't even really in the world, but, like, I was just out sneaking around, and then all of a sudden an orc captain, like, appears out of nowhere.
Ambushes
and
you.
is like, is an assassin who specializes in ambushes, and it's like, oh, I snuck up on you, I'm gonna kill you now. And it's like, oh, damn, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of cool.
But more importantly, I think they learn from you.
They do.
They will adapt to your tactics and
some of
force
them-
you to change your strategy.
And they did that in the first one, too, to a degree.
There are adaptability traits where, like, if you're fighting... Like, for instance, I was fighting one that you had to jump over him and attack him from behind to do any damage.
Mm-hmm.
But if you jump over him too many times in the combat, he automatically catches on, and then you can't do that anymore.
So it's not like you have to, like, load out and then encounter him again for
Right.
that
It's
that
like in
behavior
the
to change.
combat, he's learning about it.
Yes, that's
and
really
then,
cool.
And then there will be ones... I've had ones where, like, you go in for the final kill and you stab the guy and his health bar goes down. They put his name up on the screen like you're killing him, and then he's like, "Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?" And then he, like, gets half his health bar back, and like the battle keeps going, you know. So I haven't had any come back that I've killed yet. Have you?
No, yeah.
You have?
Again, that one orc that I was stalked by 5 times.
Oh, that was
that was
killing him.
Shadow of War?
That was Shadow
Shadow War, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I kept killing him, and every time he came back, he was like more fucked up in his face and his body.
But the thing is, there's and that kind of happened to me in the first one. It's just kind of one of those things.
But it does feel like the variety of like these Nemesis orcs has been greatly improved.
Yeah, that's one thing they were talking a lot about, and it seems like they
I saw a
delivered on
video
that.
today.
Can you ride one of the fucking
Beasts?
wyverns? I saw that. I mean, I remember the
I don't know. I saw there's a skill called Dragon Rider, but I don't know what the fuck that means.
No, you can actually ride a dragon.
I remember
from what
seeing
understand.
footage of like a. So have either of y'all done any of these like huge scale
No.
battles
See,
yet?
that's the
We're
thing,
so early on in this game. Like this is the prologue area, basically.
What we're talking about and like the stuff that we've done is Mordor 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten into the thing that's supposed to make this a sequel, which is like the army building. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
No.
I'm still.
I'm not
still waiting for the
branding
story.
people yet. It's the game's not
Yeah.
encouraging me to
Gotcha.
do so.
Well, then maybe y'all will. By the time we come back, maybe next week or something, y'all will have more of a taste for that kind of stuff.
Much, yeah, it's very much kind of a continue. Like if you like Shadows of War or Shadows of Mordor, this might be worth checking out. I mean, so far, again, I'm only 3 hours. I'd hate to say go play it. It's really cool, and then at 6 hours, it just turns into a pile of shit. You know?
So I'd say maybe we'll check back in
I
next
don't
week.
really know.
And
But there is a lot. There are other noticeable difference too. Out of game, there's a lot of.
Out of game? What do you mean?
Well, kind of like out of the meta. I mean,
Oh.
the whole like loot box thing. You know?
Oh, well, we're gonna talk about that in the news segment.
That plays in that. I mean, that is part of another big change to the system, which is the loot system. There's a lot more loot. I feel like.
there's a lot more.
Then there wasn't really much. They had some, didn't they?
They had some whenever you
In
killed
the
an orc
first-
nemesis,
right?
But in
now
this,
it's
there's
such a
also
thing.
regular orcs out in the world that you can get cash from, or sometimes items and things like that.
Yeah, and then that plays into that loot box thing, which I guess we'll talk about later.
Yeah,
because that-
we'll talk about that in
bears
the second
talking
segment.
But yeah.
I do want to check in with Chris Davis about our next game. You seem pretty excited about this.
Dude, this game
This
is
is
a delight.
so. This is a game that you supported on. Was it Kickstarter?
Kickstarter, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2013.
Man, I still have not gotten my first. So the first game I ever backed on Kickstarter, I'm still waiting for.
Yeah, me too.
that?
Alicia. I can't fucking remember the name anymore. It's been so long since I've seen it. Actually, they've been sending updates. Alicia Hartforth. I can't remember the full title. Maybe someone in chat can remember. It's been so long since I backed
Allison
it.
Road.
No, I'd never. Allison Road was like canceled as a Kickstarter before I even got a chance to support it, but I was thinking about it. But yeah, we're talking about A Hat in Time.
A Hat in Time. Oh my goodness, this game is a delight. I showed off the alpha
Heartforth,
for
Alicia. Thank you, Prince of the
I
Universe.
showed off the alpha for it to y'all way back in 2015, and it finally released this past week. And oh my goodness, this game!
I don't usually think of you as like playing
gorgeous.
platformers. This is unusual.
I mean, there were a couple things about the Kickstarter that grabbed me. First off, just the art style they were going for. It kind of looked like
It is charming. I can give you that.
It
It's
looked
very
delightfully
colorful.
charming. But the main thing was that it had Grant Kirkhope attached to it for some of the music, and the Kickstarter was so successful that
Remind me who he is.
he did like the music for Banjo-Kazooie and
shit.
Ukulele and like a ton of classic, collectathon platform games.
Okay. Would you describe this game as a collectible platformer game?
Yes.
Okay.
It very much is. The idea is that you play as Hat Kid. She's on her way home, traveling through space, in her spaceship, and she's pulled over and ambushed by the mafia.
Pulled over.
And they when she refused to pay the toll, they bust up one of her windows, and all of her timepieces, which powers her ship, go flying out into space. And so
This
you
is a
need to
game
go
about-
to these various
is
worlds
this-
and collect these timepieces.
Is this a game about abuse of power by the police? Is that what I'm?
No, there's a mafia.
Oh, it's the
No, it's the
mafia.
mafia.
You said pulled over.
Literally
so
the first
yeah,
world.
the mafia are abusing their power.
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me in the
Yeah.
slightest.
The first world in the game is called Mafia Town, and it's an island just filled with nothing but mafia people, and that's it.
Oh, the what's the guy's name? The composer you just mentioned.
Grant Kirkhope.
Apparently, he did music for GoldenEye.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool,
dude. He did a lot of
GoldenEye
work
had
for
an
Rare.
excellent soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh man, like the music alone in this game is great. It takes on like the Banjo-Kazooie style of like you'll have the same basic theme playing, but it transitions based on the level that you play to sound different, have different beats and tempos.
Did he
things
do
like that.
ukulele as well?
Yeah, he did work on the ukulele.
Ukulele has good music too.
Yeah. Man, this game's so cool.
So is there-
this level itself? It's in the second world, and the idea is that there's these.
Fuck is that?
These
Sorry.
are that's the vendor for the game, the mysterious vendor.
Whoa, the mysterious vendor. Is this supposed to be the?
What he'll do is he'll sell you badges.
What you buying?
He'll sell you badges that give you ability upgrades and things like that. And you attach those to your hat, and you can actually see them on your hats.
Okay, so that was my next. That was like the big question here because I'm assuming there has to be something tied to the hat.
So every hat, there's multiple hat. There's a bunch of hats in the game.
You guys and
Each
your hat
one
games.
has a specific ability to it. Like her main top hat will always point towards the main objective when you pull the left trigger. You also get like a witch's hat, which allows you to concoct vials of explosive stuff. You throw them at them and it explodes. You can get like an ice cap hat, which allows you to find these cold ice platforms and jump across the map.
Like they're like, are they like invisible unless you're wearing that particular hat? Or
No, they're not invisible at all. And you'll just see them out in the world. It's just one of those things that you don't realize that you need a hat for it just yet, or you haven't discovered the abilities of that hat yet.
But I'm assuming you need certain hats to solve certain puzzles.
Certain puzzles, yeah.
This is a Metroidvania.
There's a little bit of Metroidvania to
Is
it.
a Metroidvania?
A Metroidvania with like the exploration aspect of the game. It's really mainly for like
I'm using that
finding-
term fast and loose here, Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah,
incredibly.
no, there's no real like. There's no levels. Well, I mean, there are some levels that are locked behind specific like hats and abilities that you have to have in order to complete the level, and the game will warn you. It will say, "Look, this level, you do not have the ability necessary to complete this level. You can play it, but you can't beat it."
Okay.
You can do
So,
that.
is
Whoa.
structure
You got
wise?
busted on
Structure
Penguin.
wise, it's kind of like Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Sunshine. You got these open levels, or at least the first Mafia Town is a large open area like Mario 64.
Is it like a hub or?
No, you've got your hub, like the
ship?
the castle from Mario 64. That's your ship.
Gotcha.
And you gain access to various sections of your ship the more timepieces you collect,
Okay.
because those are basically the stars.
The jiggies, the stars.
The jiggies, yes.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Carlos just subscribed to our channel.
But the level variety can be exceedingly different. In the second chapter, the second world, the idea is that you have these two competing bird or organized movie making companies.
Organized?
You got the Owl Express, which they specialize and make westerns because they run a train. You know, and they just film westerns about that. And then you got the Moon Penguins, who's run by this disco penguin overlord who just does funky, dance
Funky
movies.
beats.
Yeah. And so they're in competition to win the bird equivalent of the Emmys. They're trying to win awards, and they conscript Hat Kid here to star in the movies and complete objectives and get timepieces.
That's colorful. That's like that sounds like a very interesting premise.
Like it's really
charming
clever.
as fuck.
It's charming and clever.
Charming as fuck, I think, is the word you're looking
like
for.
This first level here of the Owls, you're in the movie studio where both of these movies are being filmed by both factions, and you have to sneak through them to find your timepiece and win. And so you've got these owls that have these vision cones, kind of like in Metal Gear Solid, and you're bounding through the environment and exploring and collecting things and trying to get to the end.
Cool. No, it looks.
How is the platforming, the controls?
Very, very good.
It kind of makes me jealous because I backed Ukulele. Don't get me wrong, I like Ukulele, but that game has some camera issues, and I feel like maybe this game doesn't seem to be this. You seem like you have way more control over the camera.
No, the camera's very smooth in this game. It's very conscious of the objects in the environment. The actual platforming, it feels like it was kind of handcrafted and not just like done after the fact. Mm-hmm. Like they designed a level and then they did platforming ideas. I mean, they will structure like sandbags or balloons that you can jump on that you can continuously jump on over and over again in order to move around the level.
Can you wall jump? Is there wall jumping in this game?
There is wall jumping.
Yeah.
There's you can kind of sidle up walls too if you can't quite make it. The camera is such that you really do get a good idea of where you can go, where you can't go.
Yeah.
And then your badges and your hats come into play, where you can. I got a badge earlier yesterday, which allows me to not take fall damage, so I can leap a long distance. And
Our badge is just
right
like
before
another.
I fall, my umbrella, which is my weapon in the game, will open up suddenly right before I hit the ground.
Oh, okay.
That's not
so.
realistic.
Huh?
Did you say that's not realistic?
Yes.
I mean, this is.
You nitpicking?
You're basically
Crispy's
looking at
nitpicking.
a little girl version of Doctor Who here who's traveling through the universe. Her arch enemy is Mustache Girl.
What?
Yeah, her name is Mustache Girl.
Does she have a mustache?
Yeah, she has a mustache. She becomes your arch enemy and wants to steal all your timepieces. And she'll even kind of rob you blind and steal your gems and stuff.
I think you may have sold me a mustache girl.
Oh, dude, the writing in this game is pretty good.
Everyone loves a girl with a
but
nice
no.
mustache, man. All right.
There's a great level called the Murder on the Owl Express, which
We all know what that's.
You
a
go on the
take
Owl Express. There's a murder that happens, and your job is to identify all the suspects and solve the crime. So it's another stealth level, but the idea is that you're going through it, and as you sneak through it, there could be these sneaky little crows, agents of Caw, who are dressed up in these raincoats and look like super sneaky.
Yeah.
And they're asking you for personal information, like your mother's maiden name or what the name of your first pet is, and then you'll enter that information, and the game uses that against you later on in the level.
That's pretty clever. Why are you telling these strangers personal information like that? You should never do that. This should be a lesson to you all.
But it's so funny though.
It's
really good.
The game looks really cool.
There's levels. There's another bird level in which you're on a parade. There's a big bird moon penguin town, and you're trying to build your reputation. And the first level has you going around and meeting your fans and doing quick activities with them in order to get people to like you on the bird equivalent of Facebook.
I bet that has some clever ass name.
And then the second half of it, you come back to the same level. There's a parade being done in your honor, and you have to conduct the parade. And you're jumping around on the rooftops. You can't go on the ground because that's where all the crowd is, and you'll get hurt.
So you're conducting the parade. From
You're conducting the parade
above.
as like a parade conductor. You're being followed by a marching band, which follows everywhere you go and takes every action you do. So you have to be constantly on the move, otherwise they'll bump into you and you'll take damage.
Oh, that's cool.
And you're
I like
completing
that.
objectives you're going through. You're launching rockets to get the fireworks going and rile up the crowd. And
So it definitely seems like it has a lot of variety to it.
There's a lot of
That was
variety
one
to
thing
this
about
game.
ukulele that I was really bummed about, is that aside from the fact that like it really calls you back, like it reminds you of what you loved about Banjo-Kazooie, but like other than that, it is just a straightforward platformer with like the twist they tried to put on it was like stealing people's ability. I mean, you could do that in Banjo-Kazooie, but like the kinds of abilities that you're getting. But like other than that, like they're all, every level is pretty much platformer, collect things. This seems like every single level has like a theme, and you're doing something a little bit differently, which keeps it fresh.
absolutely. And there's
There's some wall jumping.
yeah, there's wall jumping and everything.
Oh,
There's
this level looks cool.
yeah, this is Mafia Town. This is the first area you go to in the game.
Reminds me of Mario Sunshine a little bit.
I mean, just there, it wears the Mario influence on its sleeve. Clearly, I mean, the way the levels start up, they highlight things in the environment that you should take an interest in, and what your objective is, and kind of where you should go.
Yeah, they also did that in ukulele. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like that's become kind of like a standard of the genre, which is, you know,
Yeah.
levels
But it's-
start out with like you're talking about like the camera panning around the level and showing you
Yeah.
key areas and stuff like that.
Which is
Makes sense.
it's smart. And there's 5 different areas of the game, as far as I'm aware.
Like 5 levels.
There's Mafia Town, there's the Owl and Penguin World. There's one called the Subcon Forest, which evidently has some survival horror aspects to it.
Ugh.
Spooky.
Like there was one level in the alpha that was from the Subcon Forest, in which you were being stalked by this ghostly evil creature that was haunting a house, and it would do like the fucking camera tricks and things like that. It was actually kind of scary, surprisingly, for a game this fucking colorful.
You
and
say
beautiful.
you were gonna maybe show some of that. I think you said you were.
Yeah, I'm going to try and show that on Saturday.
Cool.
This
Saturday
game,
night
it's
on the
so
feed.
good. Like,
No, it looks charming as hell. And this is out on. Is it just on Steam or is
it's
it
only on Steam right now. They've said there's
How much-
going to
how
be a
much is it selling
PS4
for?
and Xbox version. They haven't said when
Did they
it's
say
going to
anything
launch, but
about
I'm
maybe a
thinking this year.
Switch version?
The Switch
You
was
shut
the
up,
thing.
Chris.
They-
You shut up.
When they designed it, they weren't even thinking of like a Wii U version. So if there is a Switch version, it's not going to happen for a while.
Yeah.
Anything to justify that purchase.
Hey man, I'm loving my Switch. I'm playing my Switch right now.
Hey, man.
You shut your mouth.
Like, you're excited for any game that's going to the Switch.
Hey, I mean,
That
that's
doesn't matter what the
do you
game
know
is.
Do you know why? Because I love my Switch and I always want to have something to play on it. So
Almost
fuck you
a little
guys.
fanboyish there.
What?
Almost a little. Almost a little.
It's fine.
I would maybe accept that if we were talking about PlayStation, considering I play 95% of everything on my PlayStation. But
It's fine, Nick. We understand.
Yeah, this game, it's really good. It's been out for a week. I really look forward to
Do you know
playing
how much it is?
I think it's... Granted, I kickstarted it.
I don't need any other games to play, but this looks kind of cool.
I think it's $30.
Well, that's cool.
And and like in Mario 64 or Sunshine, you can complete the game without collecting all.
Wait, what
the-
just happened?
I don't know, they were staring at each other, and then they cut back to her, and she was doing anime face, and then they cut back to him, and he was doing like angry anime face, and it was funny.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
the
look, it's
writing
making
in
Chris,
this game is
making Chris
good.
laugh without
It's fun.
any audio.
Cute.
Like, this game is totally worth playing.
Cool. Well,
She's
thank
so
you for
adorable in her little hat.
Yeah, and
this looks charming as hell, and then if the music's good, which it sounds like it's pretty dope.
the music's great.
Yeah, so I might pick this up. I'm gonna add it to my list, my long fucking list that I probably won't get to before the end of the year, but who knows? All right, I think we should take a quick break. When we come back, I want to check in with Krispy. He started. Maybe we'll just do a little recap of some of the stuff we've been playing for our horror week we've been doing this week on the feed. I know you started The Evil Within last night, so it may be in the spirit of Evil Within 2, which, by the way, I will be broadcasting The Evil Within 2 tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope you guys will join me, but I want to talk to Krispy about his time with the first game because this is his first time playing it. So we'll do that. We'll have a couple news topics to cover, and of course we'll answer some questions from our supporters on Patreon. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment.
Stop. Video game podcast. Start the fucking recording.
Done. The recording has begun. We are cutting this conversation off now. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We just had a long, lovely discussion about Blade Runner 2049.
Half an
Hey,
hour.
but if you want to hear an even longer, more lovely discussion about that movie, you should go download our recent Popcorn Cast, all about it.
Where can you find it?
You can find that on 4playernetwork.com.
Thank you. Yes, go do that. Anyways, it's time to get back to video games. Got to turn off the movie switch in our head for a second.
Just give me a second to change gears here.
I got kind of tense for a while. That was intense.
Okay, let's
All right.
talk about something that isn't art. So I've been playing The Evil Within.
What?
I'm joking. I am so joking.
Okay. Oh, you son of a bitch. All right. The evil fucking within. I may have added a word in there.
Which one? Anyway, so I started playing The Evil Within for the first time last night as part of our survival horror week leading
Yes.
up to the release of The Evil Within 2.
Yep. Which
And
is
you
tomorrow.
never played
Which
the
is
game
tomorrow.
before.
I've never played this game before. I'm not even really experienced with the genre. I've maybe played a couple hours of a Resident Evil game, and that's about
Man.
it.
That's okay. I think The Evil Within is a pretty good modern equivalent or a good starting place.
Yeah, this game
the
is
genre.
fucking kind of cuckoo bananas.
Yes, there we go. Absolutely cuckoo
No,
bananas.
that's absolutely fair.
But like the best part is, so you're what, how many chapters into it?
I finished chapter 4 today, actually. This is chapter 4. I think. Yeah. Yeah, chapter 4.
Some weird.
Let me organize my thoughts for a second.
Okay.
So I don't play these kind of games because I'm a wuss and I'm afraid of being scared. Okay?
Okay.
I'm scared of fear. The one thing I fear is fear itself. This game is not that scary. It's so ridiculous and so over the top and so just out there and frankly kind of bizarre and cool sometimes that like I have a hard time feeling the fear.
Have you had any of those moments, like the crazy transitional moments, like where it?
So this is yes, I just experienced the first one of those weird transitions today actually, and it should be in this footage. When I recorded it, it wasn't doing this really weird pausing thing that it's doing right now.
I think you had an encoding issue.
I probably just haven't encoding it. I don't
That's
know. I mean, I promise you, it's running better than this on my PC. But it might be hard to tell because this whole sequence is just a cluster. But like, fuck this thing.
No,
I don't know what the fuck this thing is called, but
You
damn
mean-
it to fucking hell. And I thought that was a bottle that I just threw. It was a grenade, but it did the job.
Oh my goodness! No, you're talking about the invisible Cthulhu person.
Yeah, the Cthulhu people that like you can see his outline, and there's this weird thing with my pistol where I haven't upgraded the accuracy at all, so you can have the fucking reticle on something and fire the gun and still miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
It like, oh my god, that is absolutely fucking infuriating. Especially given like how kind of scarce ammunition and supplies
Yes.
in general are, but I have become absolutely addicted to finding brain goo, because
Hashtag brain goo.
because it is your upgrade currency. And I just found out today that all those keys I've been collecting also form another kind of interesting little reward system in the Beacon Hospital that you go to.
Yes.
Through the mirrors.
Yes. Fucking love it, dude. So just kind of as you're talking about it, it's kind of reminded me of certain things that I really loved about this game, and one of which being when you get close to.
Oh yeah, this is where things start getting really freaky deaky. But go ahead.
When you can hear a mirror somewhere because you can hear that
Yeah,
the
you can hear
classical
Claire de
music.
Lune.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like that feeling you get, and you're like, oh shit,
I fucking
where's
love
the
that
mirror?
song, by the
I need to find the mirror, because it's like you're in like a moment of like desperation, but
and there's like one per chapter, and you're just like, okay, I need to hit this before I move on.
Yes.
It's really important, especially when you're carrying like 13,000 brain goo.
Yeah.
And you haven't upgraded anything, and you're like, oh my god, I suck, and I can't carry enough bullets for anything, I can't hit anything, I can't do any damage. But the upgrade system seems to be pretty well thought out, and it seems to be meaningful.
yes,
Which is
definitely
nice,
helps.
because I finally, like I said, I found one of those mirrors after having collected a shit ton of brain goo, and I was able to upgrade a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you right now, the level like design and pacing, and this isn't a spoiler, but it gets much more varied as the game progresses, and you'll see a lot more of like
yeah.
the save rooms and things like that.
Oh man,
That's
There, it's not going to be like one per level.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, what in the part of the game I'm at right now, which, you know, again, chapter 4 is what I just finished. It's very Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
It is.
like
and that pretty much continues. In
creepy
fact,
village with creepy people, chainsaw guy.
but with actual stuff.
But if you
going
remember,
on.
Resident Evil 4 was also. Wait, did you play all the way through Resident Evil 4? No. Okay, Resident Evil 4 is also like you start that game out thinking it's going to be all kind of like the first few areas of that game, and that game gets super varied by the end.
yeah, there's basically
yeah.
3 acts to.
And each
game.
one I feel is pretty dramatically different, at least in tone or pacing, than the last one, and that's kind of the same way in this game. But like, so you just saw that transition there, the crazy one with the blood.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I was a little
that-
disappointed by that, because I remember seeing that transition in some press material before the game came out. I think maybe when we went to QuakeCon they showed that scene.
It's kind of interesting in the fact that
And
the
there was
demo-
no loading with it at the time.
Yeah.
It just like washed over you, and then it like faded, and you were in a new. It wasn't like an obvious.
So I will tell you this: there are
yeah.
actually quite a few transitions of like.
Oh, the fucking video made it look shitty, but I was fucking around with a lever on the wall, and I couldn't tell what it was doing, and then a harpoon just went through the top of my head, and I died. It went in a very nonchalant manner. It was
Yeah.
it was funny, but this encoding issues fucked it up. Damn it.
I'm sorry,
I'll try and fix it.
but just about the transitions, like those start happening more frequently, and they're all pretty different, and some of them are really fucking cool.
Yeah.
There's one on a train. I won't spoil it, but like. Man, I still remember it to this day, and it's been over 2 years.
I feel like
played
the
this
game is being very close to the chest at this point. It hasn't gotten weird yet.
It ramps
It's
up.
kind of right here. It's like when I was playing today, recording this footage, is when it was first starting to be like really weird.
fucked up.
Like it's starting to like open up, and it's throwing you into these like more varied sequences. Before this, I'd done 2 chapters of sneaking through haunted villages. You know,
Yeah.
which was it's cool. It was well done, but you know, it's kind of quaint. It's not
Yeah.
really what I came into this game expecting. The reason why I wanted to play this game, why I volunteered to play this game, is because I'd seen so much about it being just like really fucking weird and trippy. And the new game looks really weird and trippy, and I want to get to that. You know?
and you're kind of right there at the point where that starts to ramp up, and once it starts to get weird, it doesn't let up on the weird.
Good.
So I think if you're enjoying that aspect, that's going to continue to be a trend.
Yeah.
Oh, those fucking bombs! I hate those
I know.
bombs.
yeah.
Have you had an encounter with either the
bosses?
the safe head?
Ruvik? I
Well-
haven't seen the safe. I haven't seen Safe Head.
Have you seen the girl with the hair?
Is she a spider?
Kinda.
Like she has many arms and
Yeah.
legs. Yeah. In fact, coming up here, I encountered her for the first time, and that was a little weird because I didn't really know what to do there. And she killed me a couple times, and then finally, Sebastian's like, "Oh, I should run," and I was like, "Okay, I'll keep running." And it feels like you run forever.
So those are the
Whenever
kinds,
you're being chased in this game, it's like an ordeal.
Does
I mean,
that do
and
those sequences scare you at all, or?
They're stressful. They're not scary.
Oh man, because those are the sequences where I start to like, my heart starts to beat like super fast.
It's a little too, I don't know, this game's a little too goofy for me to be like scared. And I don't mean goofy in a bad way. I mean but like it is really out there.
Yeah.
You know, it is weird. it kind of crosses that threshold between like weird and scary, where it's like you're showing me too many weird things that I'm just kind of overwhelmed by all that to really be like scared of anything.
Yeah.
But the weird aspect, there's a reason for it, narratively speaking.
Sure.
And when
Which they haven't
Which we're
really
not gonna
they
spoil.
haven't gotten into. They have done nothing to explain what's going on so far. I have no fucking clue what's going on.
You're not going to have a clue until
And
like the
honestly,
very end of the game.
I'm kind of like forming theories based on just like little tidbits I'm getting here and there, but like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, see, here one thing I really like about this game though is that like it starts out, it throws you into these like super weird scenarios. They start showing all this crazy shit, and it isn't until much later in the game where they start to like add context to it.
Yeah.
And like that just makes like the first half of this game like a fever dream. Just like what the fuck. Like, and that actually I ended up really enjoying. I was worried they weren't going to give any context to it at all. It was just going to be fucked up and crazy. But they do try and explain it. And some people, you know, some people liked it, some people didn't like it. I don't know, but like,
How very artless of them.
it's definitely a an experience. So
No, but like this is cool. Like this isn't normally my bag, but I was really into
Baby.
it last night.
This is not normally my bag, baby.
Baby. This is normally my bag, baby. I'm into it. I want to keep going with this. How many chapters are there?
Something weird thing in my head is saying
20-ish?
19. I thought. Oh, really? I thought something in my head was saying 13. Oh. Can anyone in chat research
No,
that
there-
to find out?
I think like chapter 13 or 14, there's just one chapter that's like, it's over in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And then
there
there's
are,
like chapters before and after that are like an hour piece.
So are you
there's
saying
15.
are
I
you
was
saying-
closer.
Okay.
Something like that.
So I'm roughly close to a third of the way through.
I'd say. Yeah, I mean, I think this game probably took me like 16 hours total.
You have to also, again, what I said earlier, in like the level design and the pacing changes significantly as the game progresses.
Yeah.
Like there are levels that'll be 15 minutes long, and there'll be levels that are 2 hours long.
One thing I will say about this, yeah, I've noticed that too. Some of these levels are a bit of a ordeal. One thing I will say is the checkpointing so far seems to be pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Which is good because it's so fucking easy to just fuck yourself.
Yes.
Like to just get absolutely fucked in this game.
I mean, it doesn't help that your character can run for like 3 seconds as if they're some kind of obese asthmatic child or something.
Dude, he cannot run for shit. How is this guy a detective? I don't get it.
But there is
because you have to upgrade his sprint with the brain goo.
but there's actually a narrative reason for it too.
Also,
he has asthma.
Also, I think I just want to point out that I think a lot of that might have to do with the fact that because of budgetary reasons or whatever, and this being their first project, this game is maybe more linear. Like this new game, the Evil Within 2, is significantly.
I mean, this was Tango
more open.
GameWorks' first project.
Yeah, so I'm just saying,
this
like,
runs on id Tech 5.
I wouldn't come to an experience like this really asking for open world.
Yeah.
Being honest, not saying that I don't think that's a great thing for Evil Within 2. That's probably going to be fucking awesome. Maybe give it more of like a Silent Hill kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Which supposedly.
But that's also not something I would hold against the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just saying that might be part of the reason why he runs so slowly. It's because if you let him run super fast, you get to these areas really quickly, and they might have wanted to like tone that down.
But like he is just like in the middle of getting fucking murdered, and he's just like, "Look, just take a breather for a second," and he like hunches over, and
That's
like,
after
gets nice
running
and
for like 4
comfy,
seconds. Yeah.
and it's just like, fuck you, Sebastian.
Like it becomes like a metagame of managing his sprint to get away from enemies.
Joe Don Baker in Mitchell, the video game, exactly J52. Precisely. Nobody else would have come up with that.
Nope.
Thank you, J52.
Definitely not me. Thank you, J52.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
I just want to say by the end of this game, I think you'll be pretty surprised and blown away by like how much variety there is in this game. Like this game,
well, that's cool.
goes to so many places, and there's so many places and scenes and kind of set pieces that you go through that are just like visually stunning and like provocative.
That is amazing. I can't wait. It has been very samey so far.
There's a chapter in the game in which you basically go
What are you spoiling? What are you spoiling? Careful, Chris Davis. Maybe don't say that.
A level that's basically a clone of the mansion from Resident Evil. And it's super cool.
That's fair. And that doesn't spoil too much. But careful.
Yeah.
Weird.
The game goes to some pretty amazing, cool places. This is like I fucking by the time this game was over, I was like totally in love. And also at the time, Resident Evil in my eyes had been like ruined because of Resident Evil 6. So I played this and I was like, oh, at least I have this.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah, I'm not. So
What do you think of
I'm
like?
sitting at like a 7 right now. Like, it's fun. It's cool. I'm really engaged with what's going on. It's not blowing my socks off per se, but I'm having fun with it, and I'm enjoying it, especially being like my first real, honest attempt at
Survival
oh
horror.
my god! You see how close
That was
The
that was
bombs are
clutch.
terrible.
They're all like that every
Yeah.
fucking time. It's like I didn't realize there was such an input lag on that.
Yeah.
What do you think of like the combat? Because you're not really talking about that.
I like the combat.
Okay.
I think the design of the combat, and I think that the sort of philosophy behind it is very well done, and I think it works. I think the game's also kind of buggy, and that kind of makes things a little.
There are some depth perception issues to the game, especially when
Yeah.
you're aiming. But one of the things I was going to bring up was kind of how jank this game came out as on consoles.
Hey, I
Because-
played through this game start to finish on PS4, and while I'm obviously not going to sit here and tell you it didn't have problems, like it didn't hinder my enjoyment of
But
the
what
experience.
I wanted to mention was specifically the camera.
Yeah, the camera's. I mean, it's super close.
In case you didn't know, Chris, when this game originally came out,
Oh, you couldn't take off. The
it
black
wasn't.
bars?
It wasn't 16:9. It was full letterbox 235.
Oh,
The entire thing, but the camera.
so he's just
was in
taking
that
up a
same
whole
exact
third
position.
of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. Because and that was because Shinji Mikami's team, they were handed EdTech 5 to make this game,
Yeah.
and they just weren't experienced enough with it.
Yeah.
So they thought they could sacrifice the frame rate to keep that visual fidelity and cut off part of the resolution.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with
But
that.
it looks so much better in 16:9.
Yeah, it
and
does.
luckily,
The
Evil
footage
Within
I'm
2,
and
that's
I
not
turned
even an
down
issue.
I turned down the grain a bunch too. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it does normally, but I didn't have to do much to it to get it looking.
turned off the grain.
I didn't turn it off. I turned it down.
That's okay. I recently, when I replayed through Silent Hill 3, I got halfway through that game before I realized it had emulated, and the grain effect didn't work at all. I was like, this game looks super clean and smooth. What's up with that? Oh, the grain effect is completely missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dude,
I-
that's become one of my pet peeves recently. Playing PC games a lot, I'm always turning off film grain, chromatic abrasion, and motion blur if I can.
oh, I like motion
that
blur.
just-
I like
that
some
annoys me.
motion blur at least.
Chromatic abrasion is like they should never come up with that bullshit.
I don't even know what that
fucking
is.
hate it. Imagine you've experienced it in Dying Light, to where sometimes the visuals, when there's a lot going on, it kind of looks like there's like almost a rainbow effect on screen going on. Like it's on a VHS tape. Like that's what chromatic abrasion.
I think I'd have
is.
to see an example of it. I might know what you're talking about, but
It's
I
terrible.
I'm picking up what you're
Yeah.
putting down.
Okay, so again, I'm really enjoying it so far, but I also fully understand that I probably haven't gotten to any of the parts that people really
man.
like remember the
I'm just gonna
game
say
for.
I'm gonna say one word to you. This is just out of context. You're not gonna have any idea, right?
Yeah.
But sunflowers.
Okay.
Can't wait for you to get.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to get murdered by a sunflower.
Yes. Yeah. Fucking sunflower. Look out for it.
So
It's
good.
gonna fucking murder you.
So good.
All right. Well, next week we'll be talking at length about the Evil Within 2. At that point, I will.
I hope this doesn't get confusing because I'm gonna keep playing the Evil Within 1.
This might get a little confusing.
I really, honestly, for your own good, if you're going to be on the podcast next week, you really probably should finish it.
Give it a shot.
I'll try. I don't know. I don't know
no
if I can make it,
promises,
but I'll
but
try.
There's like there in order to understand Evil Within 2 and where it's coming from,
Sure.
you have to
No, I
beat
get
1.
it.
But we're also not going to spoil in our conversation.
I
Evil
don't
Within
understand
2.
how you can't.
Chris
don't
Davis
talk about the
already
story.
spoiled Shadow.
It's because I don't talk about the story or give
Mordor.
any specifics about locations and set pieces and whatever. I'm just talking about the game, the differences. It's really quite simple.
gonna
Don't
be
worry.
very
We're not going
hard.
to spoil Evil Within 2 in
Maybe
the podcast.
I just won't be here next week.
Don't-
How about that?
God damn you. we are down a human being. We can't have people missing every week. All right. We need to move on. But I hope you keep playing and enjoy it.
I will.
We'll be talking about Evil Within 2 next week. I'll be playing it on the feed tomorrow night. That's Friday night. That's the 13th. It's launch day. I'll be playing it tomorrow night, 8 p.m. to about midnight or so on the feed. So please join me for that. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. I'll probably play the shit out of it over the weekend as well.
You want to talk about that real quick?
What is it? Oh, you could put the overlay. I didn't capture any footage of it. I'll just briefly mention.
That's fine.
I played for Horror Week. I played Dino Crisis, the original Dino Crisis, the OG Dino Crisis, which in my opinion
is the best Dino Crisis.
Here's Dino Crisis as a series is so weird because there are 3 games and there are it spans like 3 different genres.
Technically, there's 4.
Are you talking about that weird game that's not actually called Dino Crisis?
It's Dino Stalker, and
that is not a Dino Crisis.
It's a light gun game, but it uses all the assets, and it's basically
not
set
Dino
in
Crisis.
the same thing.
I'm strictly talking about Dino Crisis 1, 2, and 3.
It's like Resident Evil Survivor, basically.
Whatever, maybe. But when I'm talking about it, I'm strictly referring to 1, 2, and 3. Dino Crisis 1 is a straight-up Resident Evil clone survival horror. 2 is an action arcade game, arcadey type game.
But really
fun. Really good, really fun, continues the story in a fun way, and the gameplay is just more fast-paced and actually, it's not really scary, it's just frenetic and fun. Dino Crisis 3 is a straight-up science fiction action game. You have jetpacks and shit. I wouldn't call that...
With evidently an atrocious camera system.
One of the worst cameras
Is that the one that like starts on a giant starship?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's also literally I'm not even exaggerating here, it might have one of the worst cameras I have ever experienced in a game.
It's a dinosaur game without dinosaurs.
The final boss of that game is literally a 3-headed T-Rex on the outside of a ship.
That's cool.
It goes places. That's places.
Cool.
No, I'm
into that.
But it had moments, it did some cool things, I suppose. But Biohunter in chat is correct. I think Dino Crisis 3 killed that franchise. Also,
it should have been called Dino Crisis 3 Dawn of Dreams.
I honestly think Dino Crisis lacks a cohesive identity, which is really what killed the series. Like,
what are you talking about? It's got dinosaurs.
They couldn't decide what they wanted it to be, so they experimented 3 different times, and as far as they're concerned, they failed 3 times.
But the first 2 games were like... They starred the same main character. They had the same ideas for the plot. Like, the third one is just batshit, has nothing to do with the first 2 games.
Except for dinosaurs.
It shouldn't be called... Can you even call those dinosaurs? Really?
I mean, there's an Ankylosaurus.
I mean, yeah, but
there's velociraptors.
If you inject them with, like, the fucking T-virus, they look like these mutant bullshit.
Yes.
Shouldn't be called dinosaurs.
Are there dinosaurs in the game?
Not to mention, it's like
Mutated
1,000 years in the future.
Is there a crisis situation
on a spaceship?
Absolutely.
Then it is absolutely a Dino Crisis.
But anyways, I played Dino Crisis 1. I played about 3 or 4 hours of that the other night. Had a really good time with it. Really remembered why, like, that if there's one franchise I think Capcom should completely reboot and try and reinvigorate, I think it would be the Dino Crisis as a survival horror game.
Oh my god. There's so many other Capcom IPs that would probably come to pass before that.
I mean,
and none of those are going to happen either. So
you're right.
It's as dead as Mega Man.
I don't want you to poison yourself with.
You say it's as dead as Mega Man?
Yes.
What Mega Man game are we on now?
It's as dead as Onimusha.
Okay, that carries more weight. You said dead as Mega Man, which, if I remember correctly, just got like Mega Man 11 or 12 or something?
No.
Like a couple years ago? What was the last Mega Man game?
Last Mega Man game was Mega Man 10, and that was like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Dino Crisis 3 we haven't had a Dino Crisis 3 since like 2004, I think. Maybe 2003 on the original Xbox.
Remember Mega Man Legends 3?
And
that's dead.
Anyways,
the only Mega Man games coming out now are collections.
Dino Crisis 1 is cool.
Re-release.
I just want to say that game deserves to come back. It deserves to come back as a horror game, and I think it deserves to come back as a VR horror game because that would be amazing.
No!
Amazing.
Not everything needs a VR horror thing.
Dude, you can play. No. Hey, you played Resident Evil 7 without VR.
Yeah.
Why
so-
can that not happen? Why cannot the same thing happen with Dino
that
Crisis?
game was built for VR, and how do you take dinosaurs with like dozens of raptors and T-Rexes and things like that? You have to
That's the
constantly
beauty.
fight.
The original Dino Crisis didn't have dozens. Like you ran into one or two dinosaurs on screen, and there are even times you run between multiple rooms, never run into a dinosaur in that game.
Yeah.
It is slow paced. It is.
But
like
there's also dinosaurs that you will leave a room and they will follow you into the room.
Yes, they did Crimson
chase
Heads
you.
before Crimson Heads. Those dinosaurs know how to open doors, and they will follow. They will follow you into rooms, and not only that, like in like the original Resident Evil, you could always kind of like position yourself with like a table in between you and a zombie, right?
Yeah.
Try that.
Oh, they jump up on the table?
They just jump over the table and just like plow into you. Also, one thing I completely forgot that game did: a raptor could like jump onto you, and you'd be holding your pistol, and when they hit you, you like your pistol goes flying through the like. She's like, "Oh god!" just throws the
That
pistol.
was interesting.
So then you have to go pick up the gun before you can start shooting it again,
That's
or you could just run and leave it there.
Also,
Damn.
what I thought was really cool was this was a Resident Evil clone at the time, but at the same time, it wasn't pre-rendered environments, really. They were all generated in the level, and the camera would pan as you're moving.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty fucking cool for the time.
Dino Crisis did some cool things, and the pacing was really cool.
The mute and the sound design was
Sound design's
actually
pretty good. I
It
think-
did a good job of conveying horror.
Yeah, it definitely is a horror game. It's just so weird to see how that series progressed because it literally is three different genres, three different games.
Yeah.
I think it needed something more cohesive. But I also played the entire game because I was playing it on the PS3. I played the entire game with the D-pad. Holy shit, I haven't done that in a long time.
Jesus Christ.
My thumb was kind of raw at the end of that session. That's all I really need to say about Dino Crisis. It does some cool things. I missed that series. I really do hope it maybe makes a comeback. Although, to be honest, like you said, I think Onimusha has a much higher probability of ever making a comeback before Dino Crisis does. But honestly, I don't think either one of those are ever going to come back. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Like we'll get Lost Planet 4 before we get
Shut
fucking
the fuck
Dino
up. Don't ever
Crisis.
mention that again. That is a series.
Lost Planet?
That is a series
Extreme Condition.
That is a series I have never understood the appeal. David really liked that game.
The one thing
I don't
Lost
know.
Planet
I don't-
had going for it, other than like the snow physics, was the fucking scale of the game.
Yeah, it had some cool
Because
scale.
like the aliens that you were on the planet with, like they could get fucking.
It was like Starship Troopers.
and this was like 2007. You know, early on in the
Cold
last
Starship
gen.
Troopers.
Cold Starship Troopers.
It was-
without the shower scenes.
No.
So,
No boobies?
No boobies.
No boobies.
That I'm aware of, at least. All right, that's all the games I think we need to talk about. So, let's jump into some news.
Oh, wait. Actually, I don't even have an overlay for it. I'm just going to mention it like
Actually,
a couple sentences.
You might have an overlay for it. I may have made one.
Oh, did you do one for Stories Untold?
I did, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
Don't even bother because
Put it up there. Do
all
it,
I'm
Chris.
going to say is I played through the entirety of Stories Untold during the last, I guess, 2.5 hours of my broadcast last night. Fantastic game. Very, very cool sort of narrative experience type game.
How long did you broadcast last night?
I went till like 1:30,
Oh,
8:30. So like, what, 5 hours?
Gotcha.
4 hours? It's really, really good. I can't really tell you anything about it. I can't show you any footage because there's not a lot to the game, and it's all best taken fresh.
gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Blank slate?
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very much got just that kind of generic 80s horror vibe that's been really popular for the last few years and is now kind of the standard ever since Stranger Things came out.
Yeah.
It's really fucking cool. It's got a little bit of like SCP kind of flavor to it. It's got a little bit of that 80s. It's got some retro text adventure stylings to it. It's really neat. It's really cheap, and it's really only, like I said, like 2 hours to play the whole thing. Check it out.
Oh, well.
just take my word on it.
I pulled up screenshots and like the first, like the is that like the main menu screen or something? I was like, Jesus, that looks exactly like Stranger Things. Just like
and the opening, like it's 4 episodes, and each and then they're treated like TV episodes. So each episode has they have an intro, and it
Gotcha.
sounds just like fucking.
That's cool. It looks
Stranger
cool.
Things. But it's really cool. It does some really, really neat things with gameplay. There's one of the
bless you.
chapters takes place in a number station up in the Arctic Circle, which is kind of cool. It does a lot of really neat kind of puzzly things with the game. I don't want to tell you any more than that. It's great. Just please trust me, take my word on it. In fact, you could probably play the whole thing and then return it to Steam if you're quick enough. So there you go.
Cool.
That's all I got.
All right. Now we'll move on to news. There's not a whole lot of news to talk about. There's the big story I think we could start with. Actually, just real quick, since we just talked about the Evil Within, why don't we just start with that one then? Because this is not really a news topic. More of it's just kind of an update. I think Evil Within 2 review started rolling out today with some interesting tidbits that I wasn't really fully aware of. They've been keeping this one close to the chest, I guess. I mean, hell, they announced it at E3 back in June, and then here we are 4 or 5 months later, and it's about to launch, and they haven't really shown much in the way of new gameplay. The things that they have shown, I've kind of skipped.
Actually, there's been significant amounts.
There was,
of
yeah,
gameplay this
like a week or two ago, there was like 30 minutes, 45 minutes of gameplay. I've been kind of avoiding a lot of that stuff. But reading some of the details in some of the reviews, there are some tidbits. First of all, it's getting pretty strong reviews so far. Seems like everyone seems to be talking about how it kind of improves on everything that they didn't like or as much about the first one, which is nice. But some of the cool stuff, like ever since the beginning, like when we watched that first trailer, they showed like little tiny snippets of like what looked like open areas, much bigger than what we saw in The Evil Within 1. And it's been confirmed that you spend a good portion of this game in like a town, like exploring
it's supposed
a
to be
town,
open
going
world,
in and out of buildings, I suppose, and back alleys and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of like, it's still broken into chapters, going to different places, but you spend longer amounts of time in like bigger open spaces, which we'll be, of course, talking about in more detail next week once we've had a chance to play it ourselves.
Cool.
But like that is super exciting. Exactly the kind of stuff I wanted to hear. I never thought obviously they would go full open world, but like to hear that there were even traces of open world game design in there is really really exciting. And that's really all there is to say about that. It's getting pretty much across the board pretty positive marks. And I've even seen a few people who have been playing it obviously for review who have said things like, they can't talk about it. Before, when they said these things, they couldn't talk about it in greater detail, but they said, not the game I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Which sounds like subverts expectations, which I think is what the first game was really good at. So more of that sounds great.
The only worry I have for that game is that it's probably going to review really fucking well, but is it getting the marketing push it needs to be a commercial success?
That is, I mean, who knows? I feel like they've been doing a fair amount of marketing on it. I've been seeing trailers kind of everywhere.
Yeah, there's been a
and
decent amount of marketing for it. Especially
I'll be honest, I don't spend as much time as I used to in like a GameStop, so I don't know what kind of push it's been getting at places like that. But I don't know. It seems like Bethesda's kind of been on point, and not to mention Bethesda as of late has been really good at releasing games and having them kind of spread on, just word of mouth. Like Doom just picked up momentum like fucking crazy as soon as it came out because they keep the reviews until like last minute.
Yeah.
And then
unless it's like a
and then they all hit
Bethesda
it once.
title.
But I don't think that really helped out Prey.
No, it didn't. I don't think it helped. Yeah, you're right. No. Actually, now I think Prey and Dishonored 2 both kind of probably suffered because of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is,
the thing about Doom was that it had the name Doom. Boom.
Here's the big thing though.
Doom boom.
With The Evil Within 2, the reviews are hitting at least 2 days prior to its release. They're even letting certain people stream it early.
It was playable at
That's
PAX,
good. I
so.
think they saw what happened to
Prey.
Dishonored and Prey.
Yeah. So I think if that hadn't happened,
well, we really got lucky with Doom, but we can't keep doing that.
Yeah. So
I feel like
I think it'll probably be successful, and
proportionally speaking, it feels like Wolfenstein's getting the bigger push.
And
I've been seeing Wolfenstein stuff.
But Wolfenstein is also
everywhere.
Wolfenstein has a long storied history. This is a sequel to a new IP that came out 2 years ago. But here's another thing it has going for it just in general is that it's not a new IP
and
this
that
time.
it's extremely culturally relevant at the moment.
And and it's also, I think maybe the fact that they're releasing it in October right before Halloween might help it a bit.
Well, you know, their whole strategy with Doom though is just like putting all this fucking politics in it.
Wolfenstein.
Damn it.
I'm just joking.
You mean Wolfenstein?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Doom.
Yeah.
There's no politics.
There's a
in
lot
Doom.
of politics in Doom if you're like very into demon rights or something.
No, yeah, Zlade, no, Wolfenstein 2 is October 27th. Same
Yeah.
day as
The fuck day.
Mario Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah.
Big day. Big release day.
That's a bad one.
But yeah, I think
Ubisoft
they
is gonna hurt.
I think they maybe picked their release date really well.
Assassin's Creed is going to be the one that gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that sucks.
Mario's just going to destroy
Mario's
everything.
gonna stomp
But
on
despite
both
it
of
being
them.
like an exclusive to a system, it's going to stomp the shit out of everything.
We'll see. I mean, you're probably right. You're probably right. All right, let's move on to the next story. This is more of a. It's not really a. I mean, there's kind of a controversy right now. It's a debate. We kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking about Middle Earth, but loot boxes, kind of a new trend in the industry.
Not new.
Not new. New. I mean, it seems like it's getting a lot of word of
not
mouth lately because they're doing it in more and more like egregious ways. Middle Earth is a pretty egregious example of this. I'm not.
So I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't been following a lot of the media coverage on this issue, and I haven't seen much in the game as far as like what the impact of these loot boxes are. I've certainly heard the arguments before. I mean, this isn't a new discussion that we're having.
So, from what I understand,
The big question right now, though, is: are loot boxes gambling?
well, let me follow up on his point real quick with the loot boxes and Shadow War, because Shadow War is where everything has just gone to shit, because it's a single player RPG game and there's fucking loot boxes in it,
Yeah.
which. You know, you can expect that out of
And
a
the idea
multiplayer
of-
shooter.
It's a
something
little
like that,
greasy.
but it's very greasy in this.
So, just for clarification, for anyone who's not familiar, loot boxes essentially you're paying real life money for a randomized item.
Right.
Yes.
It's basically born of the concept of like booster packs from trading card games. You know,
Yes.
like you're playing a competitive game that requires you to have certain combinations of equipment or this or that or anything. So they dispense that to you by earning loot boxes or booster packs that you open up that have a random assortment of things in them. It makes more sense for some games than it does for others. Some people are very put off on the practice altogether in any game.
Yeah.
Some people think that it's the future.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And then there's the divisiveness of cosmetic versus actual game value.
Right. A lot of the big ones that I'm familiar with, the one that immediately jumps to mind would be Overwatch.
Overwatch is big
It's
on it.
purely cosmetic.
Yeah.
You can definitely spend as much real money as you want on loot boxes, but there's nothing that you get out of that loot box that's going to change your gameplay experience between the next guy who hasn't spent a dime on it.
But the second half of the Shadow War problem is there's a significant grind towards the end of the game in order to get like the true ending to the game.
Motherfucker.
In which it takes you a long ass time to get the orcs and the grind, the gear you need to earn that ending, or you could just loot box the hell out of it and get it much.
But
much,
it's also
much quicker.
random. So and I think that there's going to be a lot of people out there who say, "Oh, it's not gambling because of this, or it is gambling because of that." I think maybe
I have a thought on that.
okay.
Because we were talking about this in Discord earlier today.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it. I guess the impetus of this discussion coming back up again also had to do with the fact that Peggy recently ruled
That it was not
And-
gambling.
that they
the
did not
ESRB.
and the ESRB both recently decided that they did not consider loot boxes gambling. And some people take issue with that because loot boxes have kind of encouraged behavior in certain players that is very much akin to what you would see in a gambling addict. People spending lots of money on these loot boxes that, really aren't giving them anything or doing them anything,
It's preying on people who
Right.
have
And
who
I can
might be
attest
more
to that.
Exactly.
I can tell you, I've spent a 3-digit number on a combination of Mass Effect 3 and PUBG.
Yeah. That's weird.
I mean, it's entirely true.
Wait, how much?
I mean, I know I spent more than $100 on Mass Effect 3 multiplayer because I really fucking loved it.
I waited.
And in PUBG, I probably spent at least $50-$60.
I mean, I've bought a couple loot boxes on Overwatch here and there, during events mostly, just because I want to get those skins. And it sucks. You feel like a fucking sucker. Like you kind of feel like a sucker.
I think a lot of it's also because like you're paying, you're giving up money, knowing that there's a good chance you're not going to get what you're hoping to get.
Right.
So you're going to be
the debate
encouraged
is
to do it
though
over
whether or
and over.
not this is actually gambling. Personally, I don't think it is, and let me explain why. I don't think it's gambling because it is not gambling for the same reasons that buying booster packs for trading card games, that buying like individual blind pack figurines that you get at GameStop nowadays are not gambling, in that you're not spending that money on a false promise of making more money. This is not to be mistaken in any way for some sort of investment strategy. People who have very bad gambling problems usually tend to rely on like the gambler's fallacy, which is kind of feeding into this mentality that like if I keep doing this, I will get a payout that will make the rest of that money I spent negligible.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there are too many people who have that view going into loot boxes or booster packs for Magic the Gathering or
because the thing about it,
or gotcha machines or whatever.
And I agree with your opinion. It's the thing about it is that by legal definition, gambling, there is the percentage chance that you will lose that money and not get anything out of it.
Right.
With a loot box, you're always going to get something.
You might not
even
get
if
what
it's
you
a shitty
want.
sword.
Right.
You're getting something.
You might not get what you were aiming for, and that might incentivize you to keep spending money. But you know that going into it, you're paying that money for a digital sword.
So I think it's similar in behavior, but not in.
But do not think that means that this practice is absolutely 100% squeaky clean.
No.
I think there is definitely an issue with loot boxes and how pervasive they're becoming in game. And it is getting kind of gross, and Brad made a point in Discord. He's not here to say it, so I'll say it for him. But Brad's biggest argument against it was that they are beginning to influence game design decisions. The way the games are being built is kind of being built around this idea of loot boxes, which is kind of weird and sad and not necessarily a good thing. It's kind of business leading the way once again, which we all know this is a business, but when the business aspect of it gets too far out ahead of the art aspect of it, you have an imbalance.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a problem, and some people have spent obscene amounts of money on this, have put themselves into very tight spots because they are kind of playing on the same instincts and impulses that gambling plays on. Now, the reason why I say that this isn't gambling, you might be saying, okay, well, so what? It's doing the same amount of damage. Why not consider it gambling? The problem with that is, I don't know how this works in Europe. I don't know how it works in Australia or anywhere else in the world, but if the ESRB here in America decides that this is gambling, that's a problem. That brings in a whole new set of regulation, a whole new set of laws and restrictions that now have to be enforced on these games. And you know what that means for us? That means that the price of these games are going to go up. Because they're either going to stop doing this. They're either going to stop doing loot boxes to get away from the gambling thing, and then they're going to have to find another way to get the money that they need out of us.
Not even they really need. After a certain
well, no.
point.
This is the argument I wanted to make.
We don't know, or they're going to pay into this new set of regulation, this new set of oversight that they have to adhere to, and they're not going to eat that loss, because what company would?
Yeah,
they're going to pass it along to the consumer, and so while this looks a lot like gambling and is having a lot of the same detrimental effects, we need to be very careful about the terminology we use to define it, because when it comes to the word of law, the definition, the semantics of those words carry a lot of weight. So if we decide that this is gambling, we've kind of just opened a whole new set of problems. You're
definitely right, and I totally agree with you there. And one thing this is kind of one thing I wanted to bring up about the whole thing is, over the years we've seen it happen over and over again. And this is not necessarily intrinsically tied to the gambling question or the loot boxes question, but like ever since as the cost of developing these games gets higher and higher and higher, and like and the amount of effort that has to go into making these things gets bigger and bigger, companies are constantly trying to find ways to continue pulling in revenue, because when a new game releases, a lot of the profit that comes from the game is very front loaded. They get a huge percentage of that in the first few weeks or month, maybe in some cases first couple months of its release, and then it peters off. And a lot of times it's not enough. It's not enough to cover the development costs. Two, maybe it's not enough to cover to reach the amount of profit they were hoping for from the start of the project. So they need to keep finding ways to get more money from the player. So that's where things like online passes came into play. That's where things like season passes came into play. And I'm not saying that necessarily is the reason why we now have loot boxes becoming so popular, but like you see they try these things. People are kind of offended by them. Like, what do you mean you want me to give you more money? And like, because these are already $60 products we're spending money on, and they react very negatively, and maybe they're not successful because people there's an outcry against them. So then they had to we have to go back to the drawing board, and they stopped doing that. That's why we stopped seeing things like season passes. We stopped seeing online passes as often, and then it's just eventually it just kind of becomes something else. But like, they're not going to stop doing this. They're going to keep doing it until they find the perfect solution to continue that revenue stream.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And loot boxes can be a decent way to do it, a fair way to do it, but they haven't found the right balance.
Is there an example of is there a game out there that has loot boxes where you can't also acquire the items just by playing the game? Because I feel like that's where it would be the most egregious. That is where it would be officially bullshit.
I think you found that more commonly early on when people were still trying to like figure this thing out.
Yeah.
You got a lot more of that. I can't think of a specific loot box related example, but I can. Because I would equate it more to like the way that early free to play MMO pay models were, where you could technically play the game for free, but if you weren't paying money, you didn't have access to certain services in the game, you didn't have access to certain equipment in the game, and it was in a lot of these online games where it was a competitive game, it was impossible to stay competitive without spending money. So it was heavily incentivizing money. I can't remember of a specific example that employed the loot box kind of facade, but
because the thing about the majority of the loot box games of the past 5 years, is that sure you can buy them, but you can also get them through in-game currency and actions.
Yeah,
it's and that's
I feel like that's the way it should be 100%.
There needs to be that balance of the shortcut versus how long it takes you to earn that in game.
Like the other end of that. The other end of that axis is replacing cost in money with cost in time, and it's a lot easier to observe this in mobile games, something like Candy Crush. You can play Candy Crush for free, but you only have like 3 fails or something like that, whatever it is, and then you don't get more of those until 24 hours later. The game will literally lock you out from playing for hours, extended periods of time. 12 to 24 hours or something like that. So the idea that because this thing is available through gameplay doesn't mean that it's really attainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would require you to kind of take a different set of behaviors that are still just as destructive. Still just as such, still very similar to what happens to gambling addicts.
Sometimes I think
spend
about
all your time playing this game.
Sometimes I think about like where this would have been applicable in like older games that I played, and I start thinking about like how many hours did I spend in Final Fantasy X to get like the ultimate weapons? I played that game for 100 hours just to make sure I got all those ultimate weapons and stuff. And I'm just like, if they were doing this back then, it would have been like play 100 hours to get this weapon, or you can throw some money at it and hopefully get it without having to invest all that time. That's kind of gross, but you know,
And I think
I did spend the 100 hours and I got it because I really wanted it that bad.
And in my opinion, I think there's actually a 3-pronged solution to this, to balancing everything out. Number one, you can earn everything in game, no matter what. You don't have to spend a dime in the game.
Yes.
2, you have loot boxes that give you a percentage chance of getting these items, but they're pretty low cost. Like if you can keep them at $1 maximum, I think that's
People will be more willing to drop the money.
people will be more willing to drop. But then there's
I think that's
the
pretty
Because
third.
you could also say, like, someone could say, like, if it was $1, it was like, I'll do it 10 times. If I don't get it, like, if I spend $10 and don't get what I was looking for, I'm done.
But the third part of it that I'm going to suggest, and I'm kind of basing this all off of my experience with Battlefield 1, in that you can also buy for like $20 full kit unlocks that gives you everything that's associated with a class.
So you could just get rid of the random chance and just
get
pay
rid of the random chance, make it like $15-20.
What?
You know, because I understand that portion of the audience that wants to get that experience but doesn't have that time. Yeah. And if they're willing to spend it and it's fairly priced, you know what? Okay. I'd be okay with it.
It's a delicate balancing act because
it's really tricky.
It's very hard.
Because often in these situations, the person with the money is going to be dictating the terms. What?
I think your mic might be off, but I could be talking to it.
Hello?
Oh, no, never mind. You're good.
But yeah, I mean, like, if there's an option to spend money to get an advantage, there will be people who will spend that money to get that advantage, and they are by default kind of dictating the terms.
But it's also
the game's meta, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also how you define advantage. I mean, if
it's a multiplayer match, it absolutely could be an advantage.
If it's multiplayer match, but if it's cosmetic or something like that has no impact on the actual gameplay,
right?
Then that doesn't matter. When it becomes something that's required that can give you an actual advantage in a game, if it's in multiplayer, that's a problem. If it's in single player, that's where there's a lot of debate stage for it.
I think there's also a little bit of insidiousness in the pricing scheme.
Yeah,
because every single one of these games that does loot box or does some sort of premium currency,
it's not just one loot box.
Does them with a bulk pricing model. The more you're willing to spend up front, the more you're getting per dollar spent.
Yeah.
So
you can get the basic loot box for $1. You can get the Supreme version for $3. For $5, you get the ones that have the legendary
or not
greater
even,
legendary chance.
Or not even. In Overwatch, there's one kind of loot box.
Yeah.
That's it. If you buy one, it's $1. If you buy 3, it's like $2. If you buy 20, if you spend $20, you get like 25 loot boxes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just even that kind of bulk pricing, it's like, oh man, like if I think I'm only ever gonna buy one, then why don't I just or like one loot box? Like I'll spend $1 per loot box. I'm fine with that. But then I find myself like, oh, I've bought 10 of these, and I ended up paying for loot boxes I didn't get. You know?
Yeah.
It's just it's greasy. It's messy. It's weird.
Not even discussing like the issue with duplicates. How that can be just so fucked up in certain experiences.
Like if you pay for 2 loot boxes and get the same item out of both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck.
Because, I mean, some games will scrap them, some games will just, you have another. Too bad. So
I
sad.
don't think there's many games that don't have some kind of like recycling system
or a recycling system that's fair.
Right.
Because take PUBG for example. Yeah, your first crate that you can buy per week, because they stack them based on resets per week.
Yeah.
So the first crate you can buy is 700 battle points, BP. Oh. Okay? You get that. You get an item. Oh, it's a duplicate that you have. Okay. You can choose to scrap it, and you'll get 20 BP. I mean, it's the value of, earning that money versus how much you get back if you decide to scrap a duplicate item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a multifaceted.
It's a problem, and it's something that's
fucking
not going to go away soon. It's something that is going to be a topic of discussion for a while. I just don't think that that labeling it as gambling
Is the solution.
fixes
Yeah.
those problems.
No, it doesn't. And
I
in fact,
agree
it
with you.
invites a lot more problems in and of itself.
And I think that's a very good point
Because
that you made.
it can invite that could be the green light for all these other publishers that were waiting for defined rules for what they can legally do.
Somebody had to take the plunge.
yeah,
Right.
they can build off that and make it far fucking worse.
All right. We do need to move on, but I hope this has been at least shines some light on it for maybe people who are not as aware of the issue. That's kind of it we have as far as news topics go. So we need to move into Patreon questions. Of course, Nolan is not here, so I will be reading the question.
Community.
Oh, thank you. That was really good. I think you might be putting Nolan out of business there. Yes. All right, we are going to go ahead and answer some questions from our lovely patrons or supporters on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting us, all it takes is $1 a month, and you can ask us any question you want every week on the podcast. Patreon.com/4Player is the site for that. First question this week comes from Alex M. He says, with this year being packed with so many must-play games, are there any titles coming out later this year that you will play ahead of your backlog? The funny thing about this question is I think he's treating it backwards. We tend to automatically rank newer games ahead of our backlog. So I would have to answer the question the other way.
My backlog is really more of a wish list than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the games that come out this year automatically get ranked or prioritized ahead of my backlog. In fact, when I find time to play something on my backlog, it's an achievement. I've been trying to make an extra effort to do that this year. I've actually played 5 or 6 games on my backlog.
I discovered a website the other day, and I was basically going to chat with it. It allows it. You can enter any Steam ID, and as long as the profile is not private, you can see how many games they played, how many they own, their percentage time of what they played versus what they haven't, and how much money they put into.
I would love to do
their
that on
Steam
Brad's account.
I've spent
I don't even want to look at
ever
mine.
since I got Steam when Half-Life 2 first came out. I've spent over $7,000 according to this. I own nearly 500 games,
And you've played 2%
I've
of them.
only played a 30% of them.
There you go.
It's
That's why you don't look at things like
bad.
that.
That's not to mention the retail games I'll just buy and they'll just go on a shelf and shrink wrap.
To approach the question from the other direction, because like I said, I prioritize new stuff ahead of old stuff almost all the time. Making an effort this year to play some older stuff. Been playing all the Silent Hills, obviously, but games that I have just not touched that I've been meaning to play. Right now, I'm playing Oxenfree, which came out last year. I'm playing it on my Switch. Switch.
You've just been playing that in your own time?
Yep. I've been playing it before I go to bed.
Well, how far are you?
I've only done it about 2 or 3 nights, so I'm like,
You gotta be almost done. It's not a long
it's
game.
not a long game, but like I've been playing for 30 minutes before I go to bed.
Go fucking finish it, Nick.
Maybe I will if we finish this damn podcast.
Good.
Anybody else have anything to add to that question?
I can tell you what the next game that's going to go on my fucking backlog. It's going to end up being Assassin's Creed Origins.
Okay.
Because there's no way. There's no way.
Well,
I'm worried that Destiny 2 is going to end up on that list too.
I'm worried that Wolfenstein's going to go on my backlog.
I know. No, you're playing
No,
that
you
game.
know what? There's 2 huge games that came out this year that are both on my backlog that I just know are not going to make it before the end of the year. Just know it. Persona 5, not happening.
Not happening.
At this point, never going to happen.
That's not
also, less big of a deal, but Mass Effect Andromeda. I would like to play that at some point, but definitely not going to happen this year.
I'm not.
Neo, I've spent about 40 hours with Neo, and I'm still halfway through that game.
Can't even bring myself to buy it.
Oh man, you love that game. Though,
I
can tell.
know.
It's coming out on
I
PC.
know.
It's coming out on PC next year.
Wait
Don't
for
worry.
Wait for it to drop in
Oh, is
price.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming to
Maybe
PC.
I should just wait for that.
Yeah.
Chai, you know Chai. He says,
Chai.
"What's the most terrified you've been playing a non-horror game, or the least terrified playing an actual horror game?" This is not really. I wouldn't constitute this as a as a horror game, but Red Dead Undead Nightmare. There are some moments. I mean, that's supposed to be kind of goofy, right? But there are moments where that game freaked me the fuck out. like freaked me the fuck out. Just because those zombies get really aggressive and super fast, and sometimes I find myself out in the middle of a field and I'm being chased by a bunch of zombies. I don't know. It just makes me nervous and uncomfortable, but I wouldn't call that a horror game. Least terrified playing an actual horror game, though. Oh, man.
That's hard.
I see. I would think something for you might be playing Metroid Prime.
No?
Like going through like some of those areas, like the fucking, or maybe Metroid Prime 2. Because where I'm going is like Dark Souls, you know?
Yeah.
Those times where you're like,
shit.
this would be a really terrible time for me to die, and it looks like that's going to be unavoidable.
Yeah,
know?
no, that... And not to mention, there are just some downright creepy places in Dark Souls, but I would never call Dark Souls a horror game per se. Bloodborne had some pretty creepy areas in it too. That kind of got under my skin.
Yeah.
I've got the perfect one.
Okay.
The absolute perfect one for a game that is not a horror game that I was terrified in. Firewatch.
Firewatch.
It's not a horror game.
Well,
It's
no,
not
that's
a
the
horror
question.
game.
What is the most
But you were
terrified?
terrified.
What is
Yeah.
the most
Okay.
terrified you've been
Okay.
playing a non-horror game?
What were you terrified of?
Yeah, raccoons. Like what was?
You've played Firewatch, right?
Yeah, are you talking about
Yes.
the figure?
the guy?
Yeah.
How you're half that game is you being stalked by him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that made me.
Don't say anything else about it. But yeah,
I don't want to say anything else about it,
Right.
but like there is a thriller horror element to Firewatch that's underplayed, but it's done really well.
Yeah, before you.
that game does a really good job of preying on your lack of information about the situation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good answer. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Huh.
Maybe Stu, if anything else pops into your minds, feel free to chime in. I'm gonna move on. Sir Thomas Thipple says, generally when people talk about a game being cinematic, they refer to games like Heavy Rain, Telltale games, and other point-and-click type games. Are there games you could think of with memorable lighting, staging, blocking, and cinematography? What?
No. It's okay. Go ahead. I will get to this as soon as you're done reading that question. But Toast Points just blew my goddamn mind. Okay, go ahead.
Are there games you can think of with memorable lighting, staging, blocking, and cinematography during their cutscenes or actual gameplay that are more active and player-driven? My pick would be something like Inside. Almost every area is constructed around the camera angle and the player to create dope as fuck compositions. That is a very, very good example. We were also talking about The Evil Within earlier. The Evil Within has some fucking crazy... And a lot of this has to do with cinematography during transitions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But man, there is some super memorable, heavy shit. And also... Sunflowers.
Okay.
Oh man, fucking sunflowers.
Hey, Firewatch did a pretty good job of that too, though.
Yeah.
While we're talking about it.
Firewatch is another great example.
I would point to there are actually some moments in Majora's Mask that are like that.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of them, but
When you get to the moon.
yeah.
Dude, fuck that. Breath of the Wild.
fuck yes.
You
Yeah,
walk around in Breath of the Wild, and there's things that just happen in that world that are just like, oh my god, that looks so fucking cool. This is such a beautiful moment. Like,
and it's all subtle. Like the cinematography
Right.
is subtle,
Right.
I guess.
But if you want to put like cinematography as like the forefront of it,
Yeah.
then I would point to Indigo Prophecy.
well, I think we're looking
Sure.
for non-traditional examples of this kind of thing.
I mean, I
Well,
think that is a non-traditional example.
I mean, there are a lot of very high profile games kind of built around that as an experience. Last of Us and Uncharted are
yeah,
big examples of that. Pretty much, well, not everything, but a lot of big story cinematic moments happen in game with the character from the character's perspective.
Here's a good one. Also from this year, and a game that I think is very similar to Inside in the way it's kind of framed. Maybe not quite as like I think Inside is like fucking phenomenal in terms of its cinematography and camera angles and all that shit. But Little Nightmares does some crazy cool stuff with camera angles and framing and like building tension and
That looked really
atmosphere.
cool.
So good.
I mean, also not to mention classic survival horror games like Resident Evil.
Yeah,
You know, just the way they
fixed
have those
camera
fixed
angles.
camera angles and the way
Yeah.
they're structured.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that answers the question. If anything else pops into your mind, feel free to say it. Did you have something you wanted to talk about Toast Points with?
Yeah, so Toast Points made just kind of an offhanded remark in chat about a game called The Secret Island of Dr. Quandary, which was an old like MS-DOS game that I used to play when I was in elementary school, we had a DOS lab that we would get to go to sometimes, like usually on Fridays, and I would play that game. And for years now, like I only just remembered it for the first time like a few years ago, probably since we started doing this since after I started doing this podcast. And I have tried so many fucking times to look it up because I never knew what the name of the game was. I tried so many times to find it, to look it up. I had this this very vague idea of like Dr. Moreau was kind of like where I was going with it, like the island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
But I could never find anything like that. I would look through entire like lists of like games from that era to see if I found anything that struck me, and I couldn't find it. And Toast, as his answer for that question about like scary moments in a non-horror game, he mentioned the beginning of that game where you actually get turned into a doll, and I saw those words on screen, and like a part of my brain that I haven't accessed in like 20 years just like clicked on. And I looked it up to double check on my phone, and like, oh my god, like you have no idea what a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders.
That's awesome.
By being able to put a name to that fucking game.
Well, you should go look up.
Because there's some really weird, kind of creepy imagery in that game that stuck with me as a child.
We'll see if it's available on an abandonware site.
Maybe.
Also, the good answer, J52, to that last question about cinematography too. Fatal Frame does some fucking awesome stuff with the camera to set you up and freak you out. Cobra asks.
That's the cover. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so old.
All right. Cobra asks, recently there was a conversation in the 4PP Discord, which you can find at discord.gg/4Player. See what I did there?
Hey.
About the usefulness of open multiplayer betas like the one they just had for Battlefront 2 a couple days ago. My question for the cast is, what is everyone's opinion of open betas? Are they good, or should we go back to having proper game demos like we had years ago?
So the open beta is the new age game demo, essentially.
But it also serves a completely
multiplayer
completely different purpose, though.
Right. I mean,
game demos.
I disagree. I disagree.
Game demos were marketing.
Oh, okay. Game demos were 100% marketing.
This
At a cost.
Yeah.
Like that they undertook at a cost. Nowadays, they are not just using it for marketing, but they're also getting value back out of it.
they're mining us for.
And
they're basically using us as QA in a lot of situations.
Yeah, and
QA as the game is pretty much gone gold.
Right, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been some changes made from beta to launch.
Balance changes, server loads, things like that.
And
yes,
even like some big stuff too. I mean, there have been some examples of very specific feedback coming from betas influencing big changes in the final product of the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean,
Neo's a
I
human.
think that the way the business is set up nowadays, that the idea of us going back to game demos the way it used to was, where you would buy a fucking video game magazine, which those don't exist anymore,
Yeah, here's
and
the
it would
thing,
have a demo disc in it, which
Yeah.
those don't exist anymore. We're not going back.
There
to
are
that.
there's two generations of demos that I think
Right.
that like there's
Well, then
there
there was also early online.
yeah, so there was like
Shareware.
there were demo discs stuffed in magazines, and there was a generation where we had on like the PS3 and Xbox 360 for quite a while where we would get straight up just downloadable demos. You would find them in the store, download a demo, you'd play, a 15-20 minute chunk of a game, and that was your demo.
like the Xbox Live Arcade games, they were required to have a demo set up for them, each one.
I think it's shocking that is no longer the standard. I think open betas are fundamentally different because they're being used for last minute balance tweaks before a multiplayer game launches. I think that is a totally different animal than a demo that is used purely to catch people's attention and give them a taste of the game before they drop $60 on it.
To clarify what I was saying earlier, when I said that the old demos were made by developers and put out at a cost, I meant at their cost. Mm-hmm. It was a cost that they were not like we had to pay to play demos. We didn't really have. I mean, if you got a demo disc from a game magazine, you were paying for the magazine and got it for free. But what I meant was that was purely a cost for the publisher, and it was purely a marketing expense for them. which isn't necessarily the case nowadays.
Yeah.
And Scrawny Flannel Man also brings up an excellent point in chat in that a lot of games now do free weekends.
Yeah.
Where you can download the game and play it for, 48-hour period for free.
But they only do that on like big, huge games where they know you're going to be spending. But well, that's mostly that's strictly for multiplayer stuff, though, right?
Most of the time it is.
Yeah. Like the thing is, demos, free weekends, and betas and free weekends almost exclusively affect multiplayer games. They are trying to get you hooked on playing a multiplayer game that has no end. Like demos used to would benefit mostly single player games. And that is, like, to me, the fact that I can't say, I'm interested in playing The Evil Within 2, but I don't want to drop $60 until I've tried it. Why can't I download the first 15, 20 minutes of it and play it and then see if I like it? Like, I feel like that's kind of an obvious thing. Nobody wants to drop $60 on a game without knowing something about it. And you can read reviews all you want, but like
we do still have that kind of.
Yes,
but like
not for every game.
It's so,
but we didn't have demos for every.
I feel
game
like it should be. I feel like because of the nature of digital distribution and like I feel like that's.
But I mean, if you go home and you go turn on your PlayStation and you go to the free section and you look at game demos, there will be a bunch of single player games that have demos like what you're talking about, which now are functionally just restricted pieces of the larger whole instead of being this product that they had to kind of like separate and then sequester onto a demo.
Doom is a good example of that because Doom came out last year in May. Like 5 months later, they put out a demo of like the first hour of the game.
I know. All I'm saying is I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I feel like it's strange in this day and age with the nature of digital distribution that like that is just not the standard. That is just not.
It's the exception. It's not the norm.
Yeah, that should be. I feel like that should be the case with every game that exists. There should be a demo that you can try. I feel like there's a lot of games that people might be interested in. They just don't want to drop $60 on it until they know that they're going to like it. And I know we have things like Redbox and we have things, like GameFly, but like you have to wait or you have to
not to mention publisher subscription services like EA Access, for example.
It just seems to me like it should be convenient enough to just say, I want to download this demo, play the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. That should give me an idea of whether I'm going to enjoy the tone, the feel of it, the controls, everything. And then most of the time, that is usually probably enough to kind of trigger that piece of your brain that says, okay, I want to play this. I'll buy it now.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair argument. The problem is the production cost of doing that.
Yeah, I think that if this practice was in any way really profitable, it wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Like there is probably an underlying reason why it doesn't exist that way. It just seems kind of strange to think about. We do need to move on, though.
Yeah.
Piost asks... Piost. As you prepare your lists of games you've enjoyed playing the most, I think he's talking about our top 10 games of all time. Have there ever been any games you've enjoyed playing more on the feed than off the feed? Oh, God.
I hate to admit it out loud, but Cluster Truck was a lot more fun with the feed going.
With people watching?
Well, not only that, but people were participating in that game.
I think...
as the integration.
Yeah.
I do want to say probably...
Although, fuck laser trucks. Can I just say that?
I do think I want to say Fatal Frame here, and that's not to say that I don't enjoy Fatal Frame as a game for what it is. I'm saying that I think... that game scared me on such a deep level that I don't think I was able to enjoy it until I felt like I had people with me.
I was gonna say something very similar about The Evil Within last night, actually.
Yeah, like if you
I don't know. Like I think
yourself,
I might have been a little tense going into it if I was just sitting in my room alone.
But like seeing people react and talk to you in chat just kind of has like a
lightens
calming effect.
The mood. Yeah.
And I think that's why I maybe have played probably more horror games on the feed than off the feed. It just feels there's something comforting about it. But I think Fatal Frame is the best example just because that game, I think, is still probably one of the just most oppressive, scary games out there. So like having people watch has probably made it a more enjoyable experience.
I mean, for me, the majority of the games that I feel better playing on the feed than not are games that I know are not going to get any exposure from anybody else on the site, and I feel like they should be shared. Yeah. Like I can guarantee you, a Hat in Time, y'all wouldn't give it the time of day if I wouldn't have.
You're probably right, but I
Yeah.
do want to play it now, which is part of the reason why I love doing this podcast.
Yeah.
It's also why my list of games I want to play is so fucking long. Our last question tonight comes from Nexus. What's the scariest Easter egg / unexpected freakout you've had in a game? Mine was when I discovered the ghost in the mirror in Hitman Contracts, froze for a good minute, then shut the game off entirely or immediately. Scariest. I don't know if this is this is not really an Easter egg per se, but well, actually, if you want to talk about, I think there's a lot of scares in Fatal. I bring up Fatal Frame a lot, but there's a lot of scares in Fatal Frame that were easy to miss. And I feel like those could be considered Easter eggs because you really have to kind of be paying attention to catch them. But when you do, what the fuck? I think the scariest one for me has always been Fatal Frame 3. When you're actually, it's kind of like Silent Hill 4: The Room, where you go back and forth between the dream world and then you come back and you're in the house. And as the game progresses, the house gets steadily more and more haunted. So it kind of makes you at first you feel comfortable there, and then things start to happen. But like it starts slow. And I remember early in the game, like you kind of felt safe in the house. But I remember walking down, like you're on the second floor, and you walk down the steps to go down to the first floor. And as you're walking down the steps, the camera angle changes, and you can kind of see the layout of the living room. And there's like a table with like a cloth over it or something, and you just see 2 feet sitting underneath the cloth.
Oh, wasn't it a doorway that had like a cloth?
Yeah, it was one of those doorways. Yeah, you're
and
right.
you could see a pair of feet
You could
standing
see,
behind it.
but there's no music. There's no like change in
There's
tone.
nothing to call your attention to it.
But when you notice it, you're like, "What the fuck?" And if you walk past that point to the point where the camera changes, and then you realize what you just saw, and you go back, the feet are gone.
It's gone.
And like that shit, I fucking love. I also, just a shout out to, this is not really an Easter egg as much as it is a side quest, but you can easily miss it, so I could maybe even call it an Easter egg, is in Red Dead Redemption, the man with the top hat quest. That quest has been, I feel weird even calling it a quest because you can miss it so easily, but it creeps me out every time. Just like the thought of you're out in the plains, and just off in the distance, you just see a dude out in the middle of nowhere standing there with a top hat, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then you ride over to him. He says some cryptic shit, and then he disappears, pretty much. And it's just kind of like makes you go, "What the fuck?" And then obviously his dialogue as the game progresses kind of makes you wonder who he is or what he is. But it's obviously something off to the side. You can totally miss it. And I've always felt like that kind of qualifies as an Easter egg.
Mine came from, I can't remember which one it is. It's either the first or the second Star Trek Elite Force.
I think that was the second one, Krispy.
I never
It
played
might have
either
been
of
the second.
those.
I think it was the first one, if I'm being honest. There was a part in one level
That had
where
a cult following.
Yeah, he's
I
part
was
of the cult.
a huge Star Trek fan, and shooters were basically the only thing I played at the time, so it was like
Well, I mean, it was a
no-brainer.
It was a
for
Star
me.
Trek first-person shooter that was built in the Quake 2 engine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
evidently was pretty damn decent.
It was very Quake-y. It was I liked it. It's goofy as fuck, and it there's a lot of problems with it. I mean, on every single level. But I liked it at the time when I didn't know any better. But there was one level where I don't remember what was even going on. I think it was like a Borg ship or something like that. But basically there was a set of these monsters in the game that I think were kind of exclusive to the game. And there was a little like hole in the wall in one of these corridors, like a little like hatch or something. And I went to go like crouch down in front of it to like crawl into it. And as soon as I like started moving forward, like one of those monsters just like popped out and was like, bah! You know, and I like backed up. Oh shit! Like firing, boom, boom, boom. And by the time like I realized what was going on, there was nothing there. Like it wasn't like a monster spawned and like ran out. It wasn't like it wasn't like it spawned and then I immediately killed it or anything. Like it was just gone. Like it was there on screen for like
But
half
you were
a
still
second.
firing?
It was screaming. It screamed for like half a second, like ah! And then it was gone. And then I crawled into the hole and there was nothing in there. And I, to this day, didn't know if that was like an intentional little Easter egg or if that was a glitch or what the fuck happened. But like for some reason, that one
Stuck with you?
Stuck with me.
You have any thing that comes to mind, Chris?
I can't think like any strictly like scary horror shit. I would like to make a case for some kind of like psychological like dread, and in the G-Man from Half-Life.
Oh,
because
no, you can miss him a lot.
You can miss him a lot,
Yeah.
but he's constantly observing you. You can catch him like a dozen times in each game, except for episode 1 and for half episode 2. Because he goes away in episode 1, and then he finds a way to worm his way back into episode 2. And the way he portrays himself and the way he forebodes what's going to happen at the end of episode 2, and the more he appears, the more he's watching you. I just got this sense of psychological dread, like something's gonna fucking happen because he's back and he's upset.
I always remember Half-Life 2. I think isn't there at the beginning when you first arrive at the city? Mm-hmm. Isn't there a point where you can see him kind of like standing off in the distance or like on something watching you, and then he just kind of turns and walks off out of the camera?
No, that's constantly happening in Half-Life 1 and 2.
It's like usually whenever you see him, he walks away,
or he'll walk away. He'll be on like a tower. You'll see him on a TV somewhere, or he'll be like on, when you're out on the highway, you'll see him on top of a lighthouse, and he'll go around it, and he fucking disappears.
Yeah, that stuff is fucking
What's up
cool.
with that guy?
I love that stuff. That's very like X-Filesy too. It's fucking creepy.
Oh man, but the way they structure it as part of the plot of episode 1 and 2 is what really makes it good.
But the fact that it's so easy to miss, I think, definitely makes it qualify as an Easter egg. All right, that's all the questions we have.
Half-Life 3 is not a thing.
Nope.
Right? It's
never going to exist. Never going to.
I mean, I question whether we're going to get another fucking Valve product that's not a money machine.
I would give up on that hope at this point. All right, we need to wrap this show up because we've gone a little long in the second segment. We're going to wrap up the 4-player minute. I think you all know how that works. Hype, sweat, thank you, and buck you. Would either one of y'all care to start?
Sure.
Yay!
I'll go. My hype this week is for The Evil Within.
Oh,
the first
shit.
one. I'm going to keep playing that. It's pretty cool. Hey, maybe I can have it done by next week. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
I have faith.
I would really like you to try.
I will try, but I'm really not going to put all my eggs in that basket. But we'll see. My thank you for this week goes to Toast Points for clearing up a mystery that is literally decades in the making. I feel like I've cleared out my, the lower recesses of my mental vault a little bit. So that's nice. I feel lighter now. My fuck you for this week goes to loot boxes. Just because, like I said, I don't necessarily consider them gambling, but there's a lot of grossness with that. I don't begrudge developers trying to make some money. I mean, it's
more
probably
publishers
it's publishers
than
more than it is developers. Trying to make some money, that's fine, but like, yeah, I don't know. This stuff is getting a little.
There's a certain
there's a time and place for it, and it's starting to flow over that. It's starting to seep its way into some areas that it probably shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And my sweat for this week goes for October. I keep forgetting that there's that fucking day of Assassin's Creed, Wolfenstein, and Mario. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
And of those games, the one I'm most excited for is Mario, and I don't even own the fucking console yet. What am I gonna do? Nick?
You're not taking mine.
Okay. I'll kill you.
Just putting that out there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. That's gonna be a day.
Ugh.
By the way, did y'all see fucking? It looks like I think it was Edge.
God, I can't wait to see all the Wolfenstein and Mario memes, though.
I think Edge. Oh my God, you're right. I think Edge, if I read this, if I remember correctly, gave. I think they
gave Mario a perfect score.
Mario perfect fucking score. And isn't Edge like they don't give perfect score?
They don't do that.
They do it, but they'll do it like once every 2 years.
Yeah, so that bodes well. All right, Chris Davis, you ready?
All right, my hype this week. some more Hat in Time. That's kind of a palate cleanser for me right now, and it's so good. It's so delightful.
Yeah.
I've after waiting 4 years for this fucking game, getting my hands on it just proper. It's so good. I'm so glad that's finally here.
I'm glad it's paid off.
Yeah, my first sweat goes to Blue Reflection because I've wanted to play that game for about a year now, and I finally have it. And then everything else in fucking October has come out, and I don't know if I have time for a JRPG right now.
Nobody does.
Despite
Nobody
the fact
ever
that I
has
really
time for a
wish I did.
JRPG.
Especially a JRPG like this. My second sweat goes to Destiny 2, because that's coming out on PC on the 24th, which is 3 days before Fuck Day with Mario and Assassin's Creed and Wolfenstein.
Mario Fuck Day.
It's just Fuck Day. It's Fuck Day this year. It just happens to be on October 27th. And I hear the port is going to have a lot of PC-friendly options that sound really fucking good. But it's also Destiny 2, Loot Grind Express, Revenge, whatever.
I think one of the more prevalent criticisms in this game is that it is not grindy enough.
Not grindy enough?
They throw a lot of... You get to a point where they're throwing exotics and legendaries at you kind of left and right.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be better for you, Chris Davis.
Which, is kind of a different problem. But we'll see.
And my fuck you goes to... You know what? I'll give it to loot boxes, too.
Cool.
It's a publisher-driven problem that developers are forced to deal with, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't found out exactly what line they can cross and really get away with just yet.
So they're trying.
They're going to keep trying. I can guarantee you
until they
that
cross
loot boxes are going to be a thing for the next 2-3 years because the game's already in development and they've already got their post-production plans and they've got to pay for them.
Yep. For sure.
What is the next thing they're going to find?
Don't ask that. We don't need to know that.
That's a real big
Don't worry about
worry.
that until it happens. We don't want to be worried about things that could be even worse.
Maybe we can kill it before it happens.
Oh, man. Probably
I don't
not.
know.
All right.
Publishers just come to your house and kidnap your dog and ransom it back to you.
That's not cost effective, though.
I don't know. If they're getting enough money.
Tricks on them. I don't have a dog. All right.
Then your girlfriend.
I should get a dog. All right. My 4-player minute starts now. My first hype is, of course, The Evil Within 2, which drops tomorrow. Very, very excited. Talking with you earlier on the podcast, but the first one is just kind of got all those feelings going. I'm just really excited. Just so much I love about the original Evil Within, and I am super excited to see how they've expanded upon it. My second hype, I'm actually going to give to Oxenfree. I'm really, really enjoying it. There's something so charming and I love those characters. And I love the dialogue between them. And the way you interface with them and make choices is super intuitive and really great. And the music is fucking amazing. And it's creepy, but it's I don't know. It's just.
What about what's her face?
Clarissa?
Yeah.
Have
you been treating her?
I've been actually trying to give her a break.
Does she explain it all?
No.
Okay.
Don't ever make that joke again.
You're fired.
But
I had a better joke.
I was kind of a bitch to her the first time I started playing Oxenfree. This time I'm trying to cut her a little bit of a break, and I'm catching back up to where I was when I stopped last time. So I'm looking forward to moving past it and finishing the game because I've always wanted to do that, and I love it, and I can't wait to listen to the soundtrack after I've finished it because it's great. My thank you this week actually goes to someone who popped into Discord this afternoon, literally as a lurker, popped into Discord, seemingly just made an account just so they could pop in and say, hey, they've been a fan for a while and they're looking forward to my top five Silent Hills, which I'm kind of capping off my Silent Hill series run by doing my top 5 favorite Silent Hills, which is the top 5 I've wanted to do for years. I just wanted to play them all again before doing it.
But that game got canceled.
Not Silent Hills, top 5 Silent Hill games. I hate the fact that they made that demo called Silent Hills because now you can't ever refer to Silent Hills plurally. You have to add something else Fuck you, Chris Davis.
Hey, that just means that in the video on YouTube, you can add in the PT tag.
No,
Oh
you
my
would.
God.
You would
That'll
say
get more hits.
You would say Silent Hills's.
Oh my god. Yes. So my thank you goes to user Reckless Link, who popped into Discord and then literally was like, I just wanted to say that, now I'm going back into the ether, and just vanished again. So thanks for popping in and saying hello and that you're looking forward to the video. I now am even more inspired to make the video. So I'm going to hopefully try and get that out before Halloween. But I got to finish Silent Hill 4 first. And my sweat goes to Blade Runner and the potential for sequels. I really, really, really liked Blade Runner 2049, and it's kind of, my enjoyment of the movie has only gotten deeper as I've gotten farther away from when I watched it. And I'm itching to go watch it again. And not to say that I don't think they could make another great Blade Runner movie, but like you said earlier, Krispy, or maybe that was during the break, I don't remember. Like, the more if they made another one, it would just be a roll the dice again. And I feel like this sequel is way better than it ever had any chance of being. So the fact that they would potentially roll that dice again and make another one is kind of scary. Box office performance aside, there's always a chance that it's going to happen, even though this one might not be performing up to expectations. It's probably still ultimately going to turn a profit. It's just, how big that profit is, who knows. So I'm kind of hoping they just leave it be, but at the same time, it was a really great movie. I don't know, I'm torn, but yeah, I'm a little nervous about the future or lack thereof of that franchise. I hope that made sense.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's our show this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. 4playernetwork.com is the website. You can join us on Discord at discord.gg/4player. You can support us on Patreon. If you do so at the $15 tier, we'll send you a sweet mug at patreon.com/4player. Please join us every night as we broadcast games on 4pp.tv. I'll be doing Evil Within 2 tomorrow, Dead Space on Saturday, and, we broadcast every single day. There'll be something every day. Every single day.
Nice.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of our lives. Yes.
Not their lives.
Or theirs. Thank you guys for listening. It's been fun. We'll see you next week for another episode. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.